Let's go, turn that shit up, man.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keepin It 100.
Keepin It 100.
Chicago's trading up.
100.
Yes! What? Here it is! Or just reported.
Just no competition.
Keepin It 100.
I know we need to run the ball more. I'm not an idiot.
Keepin It 100, baby.
Keepin It 100.
Keepin It 100, baby.
Open competition.
Keepin It 100. The smartest man.
My Chicago Bears select Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State.
Guess who's back? The two dudes that kept it real. The dynamic duo that you love, the smartest man and Dr. Phil. Breaking down the film, never a problem, kick it straight. Most shows focus on stats, we focus on the tape. We keeping it 100, never running east or west. We coming with that truth, cause that's what our fans expect. Cut off the faking anchor, moving forward to be free. But don't you worry, Shane's got the dumbest tweets. It ain't no secret, Phil and Shane got some haters. But now they're moused up like the true and now and laters. Debaters, frauds get kicked like Coach Tabor. Cuts had to be made, we added the Barber moderator. Up and down, boys got you double checking. Sad sacks strolling like a fool drunk texting. Flexing on the truth cause you know they'll never change. Real, recognize real, that's what you get with Phil and Shane. 100's what we do when we're breaking down the Bears. Fuck a play or a captain, all of the unfair. The tape never lies, the truth you see. We laugh, we analyze, so there's no babies like Maybelline. Straight to the truth with acumen and facts. We got a sad nerd, but he's not just giving nerd stats. Car crash, big impact like Max sat. Every Wednesday night you got the smartest man and Phil back. Now we know you're smiling like a fat kid with fun day. We're back better than ever and we keeping it 100.
Keepin It 100, baby.
Keepin It 100.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keepin It 100.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keepin It 100, baby.
Keepin It 100.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keepin It 100, baby.
Draft Dr.
Keepin It 100.
Keepin It 100.
Money man Marsaw.
This is Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook with football game plan, and I'm keeping it 100 on the Tape Never Lies
The
network.
following show is for mature audiences only. Shy City Sports.
The tape never lies.
Do you like David Montgomery?
Here's the thing with David Montgomery. People hang on the stats that they want to hang on, or the things that support their argument. So you'll see a stat come out that says forced the most missed tackles in college football. But when you look at that stat in conjunction with yards per carry, which was at 4.7 in 2019, that's not good. That means you're making people miss, but you're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
In
but
an
you
era-
have the worst offensive line in football.
Of course,
And
no help and weapons, right? I've heard this excuse for
there's no
every.
excuse. There's none. There's the tape. The tape shows me he's elite.
I don't have the stat here. What's his yards per carry currently?
I can get it for you.
Our producer could get it. Our producer could get it. But again, I don't go by the stat. I'm going by the tape showing me what this guy is, because this is a guy that refuses to go down. He's getting hit in the backfield. You got a fucking center. He's 4.7 yards per carry. With that with a coach. Listen,
No, he's 4.0 in his 2 seasons.
Golly, what the hell is
I'm not
going
saying
on?
that.
yeah, but last season,
He didn't have help. That's why. If he had help now, he'd be at 4.1.
What the fuck?
In today's era of football, you should be able to function without volume.
What?
confident in Nagy, the head coach and play caller. I just want to know.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that is hope.
Great players tend to make you look smarter as a coach, and you see that a lot. And it's not, you see that on the collegiate level.
Pure bliss.
Everybody's got great players in the NFL.
Do they? Do they?
What did you say about collaboration?
I got a text from a friend who works for the Bears.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And so I had hung up with you guys. If you remember, I was at dinner with my wife.
Yeah.
So we're sitting on 5th Avenue in Naples. We're outside. I'm sitting at the table, just like this. I got my phone going. I got my iPad with me. And I get this text. Hey, don't tweet this. We just made a deal with the Giants. We're getting Justin Fields.
Oh, my God.
And I look back, and there's a table of like 6. I don't know them, but they're obviously from Chicago. They're like, who are we going to screw up and take at 20? That's what the guy said. And Kurt said, they're not picking 20th. He said, are you from Chicago? Yeah. The Bears are 20th. I said, no, they're not. They're picking 11, and they just took Justin Fields. And this guy went, what? And all of a sudden, it went from one table to the next table to the next. There were like 4 tables of Chicago people, and everybody hoisted their glass and toasted, thought it was the coolest thing they'd ever heard.
That says it all right there, though, doesn't it, Cap, about what this one pick means to this city, to this fan base?
So that's why Phil and I have been texting a lot about this.
Yes.
I'm arguing with Dan Wiederer, who's a good friend. I like Dan, but I just think he's so wrong to not realize how big this moment is.
Yep.
So he said, do you not remember that they were 12-4? Yeah, but I never looked at that team and thought, there's a Super Bowl winner. Like, it was cool, but it was
Right.
like
Exactly.
not fun when they went 13-3, and then the next year they were crappy again. It was the same deal. I never looked at that team and went, oh, God, that we could win the Super Bowl. But Justin Fields coming to the Bears, we just got a freaking quarterback. Game on, baby. I love
Game
it.
changer. Absolute game changer.
Yeah, I think, if we want to be great, you just can't sit on your hands.
But the reality is, no one's speaking this truth more to the fans than you. And I'm so proud to have you on the show tonight because I really believe football is king, number one.
It
the
is.
Bears are number one
It
in
is.
that city.
They
and
are.
when you have a fucking quarterback, all of a sudden, you're in the game. That's it. That's it. No more. Take that, tough guys.
This is hearing and hearing contained, etc., etc.
All right, so let me tell you this. So we had Carlos Nelson on. He's the guy who announced the Bears pick.
Right, yeah.
So he tells me he lost his sister and his father to COVID in April.
Jeez.
He said, I get this phone call after they both pass away. Hey, this is the Chicago Bears. We'd like to have you represent us at the draft. He's like, I'm telling you, he goes, I still get chills. I look up to the sky. I'm like, my dad did that because they bonded over the Bears. So he said they put him in this area. All right, you're not up till number 20. You can't go wandering because of COVID, the whole deal. He said, I'm sitting there, and this guy from NFL security comes back and goes, yeah, is there a Carlos Nelson here? Yeah, that's me. He said, the Bears just made a trade. We got to go.
No.
And he grabbed him, and they ran him up by the stage. Well, he thought he had to go right to the podium. He runs up on the stage. You didn't see this on TV, nor did I. He runs right up to the podium, and Roger Goodell grabs him and goes, that's my job. I'll introduce you, and you get to speak.
Wow.
And he introduced him, talked about the deal. Did you guys hear the Eddie Jackson Instagram Live?
Yeah.
Oh,
we did.
yeah.
All right, we know all that. Okay, say what I want to hear, Carlos. Yeah, we got a quarterback and a black quarterback. Yeah. It was one of the great moments I've watched in Chicago sports in a long time. Okay. Could you please tell me how you graded the quarterbacks? I will not reveal who you are. I'm doing a poll. 16 teams, 8 of the 16 had Justin Fields ahead of Trevor Lawrence on their board. So that means 8 of 32 is the minimum. So at least a quarter of the league thought he was the best quarterback in the draft. We had Matt Nagy on our radio show the other day, and I said, Matt, it's August 24th. You're driving home from practice.
Yeah, I heard.
How's it going? This kid, I can't hold this kid off. And he laughed. He goes, I like how you asked the question, but I'd also say, hey, Andy was really good in practice today, too. Playing the game, and then Jonathan Hood asked him, what do you have to see? And to hear Matt go, well, when he goes to the line, does he realize they just dropped out of man into cover 3? Can he identify the Mike linebacker? Can he get the receivers now onto a different play call? Oh, and by the way, can he change the protection and do it all within 2 seconds? He said, because that's what you got to be able to do. And then he told a story to me when I spoke to him. Matt told me when they brought Patrick Mahomes in for his first minicamp, he had never been in a huddle in his life. Never.
What the hell is going on?
And he said he had no idea what he was doing. He gets into this huddle and he starts yelling out a play call, and one of the linebackers for the Chiefs goes, hey, dude, we can hear everything you're calling.
There's hope, guys. There's hope.
Are you aware of the pressure being the quarterback of the Chicago Bears? He goes, I played at Georgia and Ohio State. I was built for it. And then the other thing is, a friend of mine who played for the Bears, so he was an offensive lineman, is Keith Van Horn. He said, Keith lives 2 seconds from here. Keith said McMahon comes into his first huddle. First time they let him play. He walks in and this guy's yelling and this guy's yelling. And he said, Jim got down on one knee and he goes, nobody fucking talks in my huddle. From this moment forward, shut the fuck up. This is my huddle, not yours. Are we clear? And he said, Jay Hilgenberg goes, whoa, we got a quarterback.
And how they play the game.
Bill, they have something called IT.
Yes.
I can't tell you what it is. I can't bottle it. It's not in this can. It's something called IT. I watched Michael Jordan his whole career. He had
kind of in the spotlight since high school, so I kind of feel like I'm made for this. I'm built for this. So it's nothing new to me. I'm just gonna continue to work hard and continue to get better every day.
Yo, this is Claudio the Barber, and this is Chi City Sports Keeping It 100. Well, it was a slow news week for the Bears, but breaking news, Chris Sims is a douche. All right, we got a great show for you tonight. First, we got Matt Waldman from Rookie Scouting Portfolio coming on. Then we got the creator of the AIQ test, Dr. Scott Goldman. He's going to talk about how impressive it is. Justin Fields aced that test. So let's bring on the boys. Shane.
Hey, cut it out. What are you talking about?
That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
All right, what's up? I had a great intro for you, Shane.
Yeah. Go ahead. What is it? You were so late on the open. He gets later and later every week.
If you look at it, you can see in his eyes, he's like going, yo.
Oh, I'm waiting for me to come up. I'm waiting for me to come up on the screen. The music didn't play for some reason. I don't know why.
You got to go.
There it is.
Boom, right? I don't hear any music.
No, there was no music.
I don't hear it. Well, there it is. I hear music.
There it
do it again. Let's see how you would.
Let's do it all over again.
Let's do it live. Do it fucking again. And
Fuck it. We're gonna do it live.
Let me hear you
introduce I'll write it myself.
the
do
right
it live.
way. This guy deserves an intro. God damn it.
What do you want me to do?
Not you. I was isolating on you.
Oh.
In this corner, weighing 228 pounds. What was your intro for him? You do nothing else.
It was Shane. It was Shane. Duh. Smartest man. I was using the smartest man. That's
that was really.
Yeah, that was good.
You and Acevedo.
It's original.
Screwed it up, Phil.
Great
You
job.
screwed it up.
Great job.
How about we go fantastic?
We'll bring fucking Waldman in here. He'll host.
We need a new moderator.
Chris Sims. What do you think about Chris Sims? What do you think?
Justin Fields is the pick, guys. Justin Fields.
The pick is Justin Fields. It's
this dude.
Matt,
how does he have any credibility? First of all,
yeah, with Sims, I don't know. He's just listen.
I mean, I don't get it.
Classic Mike North. Let me get clickbait out there because if you're fucking, you can leave the beat because I was feeling it.
All right.
You're fucking trying so hard to make people mad, especially knowing the second city and the most important thing in Chicago. It's not your hot dogs or your deep dish. It's the fucking Chicago Bears. That's the most important thing. How am I going to get people talking? How am I going to get clicks? I'm going to put Justin Fields as the 39th ranked quarterback in the entire league. Oh, by the way, he hasn't taken a snap. All of that shit's almost
He
like
said it's because of his mechanics.
Okay, take his mechanics and throw it in the fucking
how the fuck does he have
Shore.
Kellen Mond up higher than
Kellen
him?
Mond? He couldn't hit a fucking barn with a fucking one of those yo-yos.
Yeah, he could
Fuck out of here. You're talking about. I don't understand what Emery Hunt's seeing on tape. I don't understand what Chris Sims is seeing on tape. That just tells me let's antagonize an audience and get people talking. That's it.
Well, we're not looking for
we don't
him.
fucking do that.
We're not looking for him to agree with us, and we would be saying this if Justin Fields was a Minnesota Viking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
I said
it is
Viking
what it is.
in my head. That's
it's just crazy. I mean, he went out of his way. He put Case Keenum 40th, Justin Fields 39th.
Exactly. All right, we're starting a franchise, and I know our guest. Our guest is an expert on quarterback analysis. I trust this guy more than I trust most people in the world analyzing quarterbacks. Matt could do a hell of a lot more analysis, but we'll let him respond to Chris Sims. But I want to say this: if I'm in a gym, I'm a gym teacher, right? And I line these kids up, and I look at Case Keenum, and I look at Justin Fields, and I say, well, that kid's a better quarterback than this. It's just never even in the vicinity. It's not even in the ballpark. It's just dumb. And unfortunately, he's getting a lot of attention for stupidity. And I guess that's the way you do it. That's why we're almost at 10,000 subscribers. If we were dumb, we'd have 25,000 by now.
Well, Phil, we've talked about it for years, man. It's you can build an entire brand just by going against consensus, and people will follow it. You know, it's there's people that have made millions and millions of dollars doing that, and hey, I love thinking about the money aspect of it, but we're not going to do our show that way. If we agree with it, we're going to say it. If we disagree with it, how many uncomfortable conversations have we had with people here live on air? We did it last week. Yeah, you know, it's just one of those things. And this is football. If you have a group full of people in a room and everybody is agreeing, then you know what happens? You draft Mitchell Trubisky, number 2 overall. Remember that? You know, that's consensus on the board. I don't want consensus. I want you to bring things to the table that are going to provoke thought, make me think, oh, I didn't think of it that way. That's what this is all about. If you have everybody on a show or on a podcast or in a war room with consensus, that would make me nervous. Yeah, put that back up real quick. Who did he have there?
He's got Marcus Mariota and Kellen Mond.
Yeah,
Kellen Mond.
What's the separator? You know, just Case Keenum and then 3 rookies and then Marcus Mariota. It's just such an odd list.
Oh my God. It's just so okay. So he didn't have Case Keenum over Justin Fields for the nerd going to be fucking putting a comment in YouTube. I didn't know his fucking ranking yet. So don't type. Fast forward a little, you'll hear me say this, you fuck.
Makes you wonder where he's going to come in with Mitchell Trubisky, doesn't it?
Oh, 35th or 33rd, Mitch Trubisky, watch. The reality is that's Northeism, I call it. Mike North school of get people clicking. I don't give a shit if I'm wrong. At the end of the day, they're going to be clicking on my shit. That's it. But at this network, we don't do that. What we do is have amazing football conversation on the truth of football, on the tape and the analysis. We could debate, and one of the best people to have on this show, a brother from another, Matt Waldman, and we introduce him always like this.
Once we hit April 1st, we told you all that TTNL was going into overdrive with our 2021 NFL draft coverage to get you all ready. When we flipped the calendar, there was only one man for us to call to help us kick off our NFL draft talk. The rookie scouting portfolio creator has set it all up for you to help get you prepared for the draft. You won't find another more comprehensive NFL draft guide out there. Hopefully, Matt sent one over to Collaboration Headquarters at Hallis Hall for Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy to use. Bears fans, TTNL fans, you are now on the clock. And with the first pick of the 2021 NFL Draft, TTNL Network selects Matt Waldman.
Yo, there he is. Long time no see.
I know. Good to see you guys. I've been having fun in the green room back there listening to you guys go on about quarterback rankings, and I'm looking at Kellen Mond ahead of Trey Lance and Justin Fields, and I was like, wow, yeah.
Oh
my God. Isn't that just, I mean, what's the old Howard Stern rabble rouser terminology? Isn't that what that is, Matt? I mean, I understand everybody's going to have their rankings, but how the hell are you putting Justin Fields down because of his mechanics, but then you're gonna promote Kellen Mond higher because of that? It's crazy.
Yeah, my only guess is that sometimes some of these guys listen to certain people.
Yeah,
and within the league, and they buy that as gospel, whatever it is. And they decide from there that they're going to create something around it because maybe they can't say what it is that they were told, and and I'm giving that the best possible, scenario of that. But I mean, when you look at the tape of, a guy like Kellen Mond, I mean, there's a number of things that stand out, but a scout that I do know kind of summed it up best on draft night. He's like, it's very hard to lean on a quarterback who you look at as a rehab project and think that if he's a rehab project in college, that somehow he's going to rehab in the league. And when you look at Kellen Mond, he's one of those guys where it's not like receiver where you can learn footwork or you can learn, one or two aspects of the game and really refine it and get better. With quarterbacking, it's not, as you're going to have with this great guest that you've got on next. It's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's conceptual, it's intuitive. Quarterbacking is very intuitive. Yeah. And you've got to combine all those things into one. If you've got all this noise of these different things that you've got to think about while you're trying to do your task because your feet aren't quite right, or you don't. And when you look at Mond, his feet, I mean, trying to move out of the pocket, he'll run to a spot, but he doesn't really have an organized movement. He's not very confident with his footwork. His upper body is way ahead in terms of development than his lower body. And you can fix the lower body to a degree, but you don't usually fix the pocket movement because that's ingrained by now. If you can't move around the pocket with the bodies flying in a way that's efficient to keep yourself in line to be able to throw an accurate ball and keep your eyes downfield without getting jostled around and disrupting your own line of sight, that's a problem. And his best accuracy right now is confined to the shallow middle of the field. which I guess all those crossing routes in Minnesota with off of the play action. I mean, it worked for Baker, in Cleveland right now, where they can find a lot of what they do there. But to say that he's on even remotely the same level of Justin Fields or Trey Lance is, it's not. I guess I just don't know what he does to analyze, and I don't really care because you kind of have your own thing and you go with that. And, if that gets him clicks and people listen to it, well,
I think he analyzes the same way this guy does.
Smoke weed every day.
That's the
yeah. When you look at this quarterback Justin Fields, though, my father and myself were on, I think, with Berlissimo as well, and Shane too. We all were on that day, and we were looking at his mechanics to this talking point now, Matt. And I'm like, you know what? I worry about his mechanics a little bit because he has this, elbow thing. And then my father, 33 years head coach, 58 years of football coaching. And he says, Phil, I wouldn't change a goddamn thing about it. Gets there. He does it and he gets there and it's fluid. And that's what I tell everybody. And this is my point. You go to the coach's clinic. Nick Saban goes to the coach's clinic and picks up something. You're always the best coaches, the best teachers, the best quarterbacks are always trying to learn. And that's something you have to learn. And my father was 100. You know what? I looked at his whole perspective differently. And I'm like, this guy's a winner. He processes. I love the negative on him in regards to he doesn't read the field. Well, if his first man's open, that's where his eyes are going to go. We can't put a negative on that. And it drives me insane when I hear people just repeating and regurgitating what people like Chris Sims or Colin Cowherd and these guys say over and over without ever doing the work like you do, like I do. Like, I'm not going to change my rankings. I've taken a lot of shit, and Shane has defended me because I broke down Mac Jones, and you know how much I love Mac Jones. And I had Lawrence 1A, Mac Jones 1B, and Fields 2. That's how I ranked them. That's how close they were. Oh, they go crazy, right? But the reality is the tape doesn't lie, Matt. With Justin Fields, I know this is the long part to the big question. Throwing mechanics, throw that out because it's so quickly there. And that's really the reality of Phillip Rivers and others that have been. Dan Marino had the perfect, right, release, boom, at his ear, boom. Not everybody's Dan Marino, though. So how you were taught, how you become to throw it, do you get it there? Do you have it here? Like you said, in those moments, Justin Fields does. That's why it drives me insane. Am I on the Matt Waldman school of thought there?
Oh, absolutely. Because I've written something that I joke around with, like Larry the Cable Guy, with the whole idea of get her done. That whole, so Brett Favre was the master of get her done mechanics, which is basically, at 40 years old playing for Minnesota on a third down with pressure there, dropping back, he can bring the ball down to his knee and still get the ball out accurately, efficiently, and quickly. And the thing is that at the end of the day, and I've talked to a number of quarterback developer coaches types, at the high school, college, and pro level. And they're the best ones are Will Hewlett, I think, is a very good one who I've had on my show a number of times. And it comes down to this. Not everyone's going to have the same mechanics. So if you judge it by Tom Brady, then you're basically judging it by one standard. It's like you're judging beauty by one standard, which is just asinine. I think the Nazis judged beauty by one standard.
Exactly.
I think that was, so that worked really well.
No better example there.
That worked really well. But the thing is that there's so many different ways that players learn, and they have different styles of how they win. And as long as they're able to get the ball out and do it on a scalable, repeatable level, and it doesn't hurt their arm, it doesn't hurt their accuracy, then he's absolutely fine, And when I look at Fields, I mean, the only, the whole thing about processing, there's just, to me, that's a conversation that is fit for today's society in terms of social media, where there's no nuance to the conversation. And that's why it's so sickening to hear, because everyone conflates it with intelligence. That processing is intelligence. Processing is a brand of intelligence, but it's basically the brand of intelligence of like the kid at the cash register who has to count change, or someone at a whiteboard who can tell you identify the coverage quickly, or someone who grows up in suburban Illinois and, on the north side of Chicago, in basically what was those movies that they all made in the 80s when we were growing up that was all, they're all based on the north side of Chicago. I mean, basically the director seemed to have a fetish about that area. I don't remember. The Breakfast Club, John Hughes. Yeah, like the John, kids from a John Hughes movie who are all going to basically
all the stereotypes.
They're going to get all the advantages. They're going to get the SAT prep. They're going to get the Kaplan prep. They're going to do all that, and they're going to become smart little students in school. But it doesn't make them very smart in life necessarily. That's up to a lot of other experiences. And again, quarterbacking, that's only one part of it. Alex Smith and Ryan Fitzpatrick are two of the smartest quarterbacks from that angle that you're ever going to see. They take the tests extremely well. But when you ask them to get on the stage and to be quick-witted enough to identify not only the leverage that the defenders present, and identify pre-snap something that's going on, to know where they're going to look first and make the adjustment, and then do it very quickly, do it at the speed of instinct in a way where it's just like lights out, hit your mark, tell the joke at the funny time, play the right notes in the right rhythm, all that kind of thing. They have to wait for confirmation. And then as a result, all that quick thinking slows down, because then again, the more book smart you are, then the more neurotic you tend to become. Because you overthink.
You start overthinking, and you start wondering. You don't want to wonder here. You don't want to wait. Should I?
Yeah.
I've always said that. Your articulation of this is it's next level. It's like masters with Waldman in college talking about football. No, seriously, because we have so much ignorance everywhere. It's insanity how much ignorance there is when it comes to this. And Sims is hitching his wagon to it to create this whirlwind. And that fucking poor kid. Like, are you fucking that?
But that's the difference right there. That's the difference there, Phil. I don't think Justin Fields is affected by it. I really don't. We've lived through it. Stuff like that tore down our last quarterback. I think that bothered him. He's just a different animal. Totally.
I can say this on this show because I can't say it anywhere else, but it's absolutely the truth, which is, and you guys know, there are certain levels of privilege that people have. I know where Mitch Trubisky grew up. My aunt and uncle lived there. Okay. That's white privilege-ville, and that's fine. And doesn't mean you don't work hard as a white person, but you get some advantages that black people don't always get in terms of, how you're questioned or scrutinized and things like that. Justin Fields basically has never had privilege on that level. So he's always going to be questioned. Even if he's famous and has millions of dollars, he's more likely to have people question, his intelligence, question his abilities, question whether he should be where he's standing in the middle of the street, wherever. So
Exactly.
the
Keeping
fact
it
that
100.
he's got to deal with that is of course he's not affected by that. Mitch Trubisky, the first time he's going to deal with any kind of adversity on this level is going to be difficult for him. And that's okay. I mean, it'd be difficult for most people. Fame is a horrible thing when you think about like what it does to people. It takes your personality or essential of who you are and throws it as far away as it possibly can get. And now you've got to figure out a way to get some of that back. And as Bill Murray would say, who was a favorite son of Chicago, you're going to be an asshole for 2 years no matter what. That's just going to happen when you become famous. And it's like, and then you got to figure out how to fix that, or you're always going to be one. And so when you think about, Fields, yes, I will say there are isolated plays where he processes slower, where he's reading the safety and he doesn't make the decision as well as he should. But it's a small number of plays a game. Some of them are more about recognition of maybe what a defense was trying to do to him, as opposed to a chronic problem with every type of play. It's not, and so some of that's going to be correctable. Some of it may not be. But listen, I think there's only 3 to 5 quarterbacks in this league who, on those 4 to 6 plays that defenses will throw at you once they've seen enough tape on you and have had enough games to go, Matt Ryan can't handle this. Matt Stafford can't handle these things. Jared Goff can't handle, someone dogging him.
But Kellen Mond can.
But Kellen Mond, so, but you look at those things, and it's those 3 to 4 things that are the difference between, say, Phillip Rivers at the end of a game and Patrick Mahomes at the end of a game. And Phillip Rivers, was a terrific quarterback, had a long career. He was an excellent, he was an excellent quarterback. Was he maybe a very good one? Maybe not great, but certainly someone that you build a good team around him, and he's going to compete for you and give that to you. So I think at the very least with Justin Fields, you're looking at a guy who I've compared, his whole game. And it's like, if you could go into Dr. Frankenstein's laboratory and you could take some of the best of Josh Allen and some of the best of Deshaun Watson and put it together and know that you're going to have to manage some of the things of the learning curves that both of them had to a degree, then that's what you get. And I don't think anybody would be disappointed with either of those players on the field in terms of how they've developed at this point. So yeah, for me, the processing thing, people have equated it with racism and intellect, and I can understand why people wanted to go there, but it's just his intelligence. He's more than smart enough to be a very good starting quarterback in the league. There's no question about that. And your next guest, I'm sure, will get into all that. But it's that speed of reaction, and there's flashes where he does it at a very high level against top competition while playing hurt in really crowded pockets. And then there's evidence of plays where you're like, dude, what were you thinking on that play? But nothing that was remotely as bad as what Josh Allen was doing. I had a friend of mine who, as a barter, he did some work for me and said, I want to watch some tape with you. And we watched Josh Allen at Wyoming. And at the end of that, he looked at me and he goes, how does anybody think that's a starting quarterback coming out of Wyoming? And it's understandable why I thought that, because we watched him against Nebraska where he was making awful decisions, but
that was the fight that everyone had with me, because I had him a number 1 quarterback in that draft. And I took a lot of shit because all of them kept throwing the Nebraska game at me. And I'm like, football is beyond one game.
Yeah. They threw the LSU game at Patrick Mahomes.
They did. Yes, they did.
It's always that way. So
that's the problem, though. Like, this isn't a shot at people. It's just a fact. I can make a highlight film on Charles Leno, who I couldn't believe he was the starting left tackle of my Bear. It drove me insane. It drove my father insane. It drove anybody who says they know offensive line play insane. But I can make a highlight film of him and make him look good. And that's what draft season comes around, Matt, and not everybody wants to read Matt Waldman's details or subscribe to the tape and watch it. They don't want to do it, right? They don't want to do the work. They just want it quick. I want a highlight film. I want to see this guy. Feed me, and then I'm going to make my opinion off of that. Well, I saw him do this, and I saw the tape study and film work. You have to know and put your name to it. There's people that are afraid to put their name to it. For me, I couldn't sit there last week listening to Emery Hunt bash a guy on tape that I know is completely the opposite of what he's saying. I could see, and it bothers me to right now because I respect Emery, but David Montgomery is an elite running back that's had to deal with terrible offensive line play and a coach that doesn't understand rhythm. You can't say, and I know I'm jumping to a running back, but you can't say a running back doesn't need volume. Every running back wants volume. The stories are on the tape. That's where you see it's not yards per carry. If that was the case, Walter Payton wouldn't be talked about like he was. It's the reality of what they do every game. In the same way with the quarterbacks, I got pissed off about people talking about Mac Jones. Oh, he's from Alabama. Alabama quarterbacks never succeed. Show me one.
Logo scouting.
Logo. That's the term.
Well, that's the best
right
part
there.
too.
That's why
Phil
he's
and
the
I talked
fucking
about it. They
best.
said,
I
"Look at
love
all the
it.
weapons he had." And I'm like, "Well, did not Patrick Mahomes, but did Deshaun Watson have any weapons at Clemson? Did Justin Fields have weapons at Ohio State?
He was a product of his weapons.
Yeah, right.
Point,
exactly.
So I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, when we look at players, I mean, I don't know if you guys know this story. It was written at SI a long time ago, but I know both the parties. Phil Rosano, the former scout of the 49ers, whose dad was a longtime scout under Bill Walsh, and Russ Landy, and they were both Rams scouts at the time this happened. And it was when Alex Smith had the best workout that Gil Brandt had ever seen, from the pro day scripted workouts. Well, apparently the story goes like this. The GM comes in to the scouting office and says, guys, I want you to reevaluate and regrade Alex Smith. Because Phil Rosano, I think, had a 4th round grade on him. And I think, Russ Landy had a pretty low too. Like, it wasn't number 1 overall remotely first or second day.
Right.
And he comes in he goes, I want you to use this videotape that I've made to do it. And the videotape had 20 plays on it. 20, that's it. 20 plays. 20 plays is like a third of a third of a third of what I watch in a day on a quarterback when I'm studying just one day on a quarterback. So, and they're all highlight reel plays. They're all great plays. And they refused. And they got in an argument and they had to be separated from each other. Basically, because he said, I'm not changing my grade to make you feel good to cover your ass over some hit clip when I've spent like years watching this guy and watched everything. You want me to change my grade on this? And that's kind of some of the stuff that sometimes happens, not only with fans, but it can happen with some of the worst teams, or some of the worst decision makers. And Fields is going to have work to do with certain things. I mean, he gets a little jumpy with his drops in a way that's a little disruptive, especially with his 1 and 3-step drops. He can be a little smoother. Is that difficult to fix? No. Kerry Collins fixed it, back in the day. I mean, and he became a better quarterback for some of that too. But the intuitive flashes of his game and the ability to hang in there and take hits and throw the ball and place the ball where it needs to be. He's got a beautiful stroke in terms of throwing the football. And then, he happens to run the ball well. I mean, there's, before, I joke I'm contractually obligated on every podcast to mention Chad Kelly at least once, because I'm a Chad Kelly fan in terms of on the field.
I had him ranked over Mitch Trubisky.
I had him 2 overall behind Patrick Mahomes because he has what Mahomes had in terms of that instant ability. He just the problem is that he was instant also with like wanting to fight people and wanting to tell coaches
party.
He's
the talent was so amazing. It still is. He put him in a preseason game against the Bears. He was fucking throwing dimes on us, on our starters. And I'm like,
and people laugh at him because again, it's when you think of the whole
the fiasco,
take oriented of how people say things. Last year, he said he's in shape and said he'd race any quarterback in the league, and he's faster than every quarterback in the league other than Lamar Jackson. And everybody was making fun of it. And I'm going, well, I remember watching him against Georgia, and Georgia has some athletes, just a few, and I watched him run a 50-yard touchdown where he split a safety and a cornerback, to beat them. And this was coming off of a sports hernia and an ACL tear. Okay. And I was told that his medicals were so bad that like they were said he needs a year off just to rebuild his body. And once he does that, he'll be fine. But he just came back early because he's a baller and wants to play. And Denver had to calm him down. Like Denver literally had to say, you're not playing this year. I know you're working out by yourself on the field after the practices, and you're like asking everyone, when are you going to get put on the active roster? And they're like, just slow down, slow down, Francis. It's just like, you've got to get your body right. And he's just too intense, but that's the thing is like, when we look at guys like Fields, I mean, this is someone that his ability to run is just going to be so nice. And it's going to be it's going to be, if they can take Josh Allen in Buffalo and use him as in basically a shotgun offense that's not designed for him to run the ball and go, you know what, Josh, you're not going to make that. You're not making that second read all that often. We're not even seeing you get to a third read right now. We don't care. If after the first read you want to run right now, year one, go ahead and run. Let's not let you take hits trying to get to that second or third read. Just break the pocket and make something happen, dude. And I think that was very good for him because they didn't make him overthink and freeze up and get into bad habits. They let him develop to where he's like, okay, now he's making second reads more often. Okay, now let's give him some looks and some players and personnel around him that make his play shine, that get the best out of him while minimizing the worst case scenarios with his game. And I think that they'll be able to do that with Fields. I'm not worried about Nagy doing that and if it does happen, then I think that then they'll get rid of him. They're not getting rid of Justin Fields. And I don't know about you guys, but I'd like to know, do you think Allen Robinson's thinking, I think I'd like to stay a little bit longer now?
Yeah, well, we talked about that. I think it's got to be a part of it. I mean, it's going to be easier for them to figure it out too, because they came out today with the cap ceiling for 2022, so that helps these teams plan a little bit more moving forward.
208 million,
208.2. Yeah, so that's 26 million higher than where it was. But Matt, one of the things that I always, we all dive into the tape and see everything that's going on the field and what these guys are dealing with and pick them apart and build them back up, like you're saying, doing what we're doing. But the biggest separator for me is, like, I was a Mac Jones guy also, but I look at Justin Fields, and Chicago is different. It can kill you just away from the football field. The media is a different beast. Being the quarterback, this franchise hasn't had a guy at quarterback in forever. I mean, we all know that. And it's the part, and this may not factor into anything, but I saw Justin Fields get up at the podium at rookie minicamp, and they asked him, how are you going to approach training camp this year? Are you going into it hearing Matt Nagy say, Andy Dalton is my starter? He goes, no, I'm going into it that I'm going to be the starter. I'm going for one. That's who I am. and anybody else on this roster, if you're not doing the same thing for your position group, you don't need to be on this team. I've been waiting I'm 44 years old. I've been waiting my entire life for a Chicago Bears quarterback to come up just from Jump Street and do that. And I said, if the Bears had drafted Mac Jones, I don't think that the meter would have been moved off the football field the way that it has been for Justin Fields. I'm not saying that he can't come in here and be an alpha, but Justin Fields already has made an impact in giving the Chicago Bears some relevancy. He really has, and he hasn't taken an official snap yet. And that is such an underrated thing for these rookie quarterbacks coming into a situation, because Mitch Trubisky he never could grasp that. It was all, like you said, where he came from. He always seemed like a mama's boy. I said, wait until he tells the people in Buffalo that he's going to choose ranch over blue cheese. It'll fucking crush him, because they're going to go after him in Buffalo for his choice of dipping sauce and chicken wings. But it's just Justin Fields is just a different beast entirely, and I'm so excited about that here for this team.
And listen, the thing, I love the point, because ultimately I think Justin Fields was the best fit for the Bears ahead of Mac Jones. But I had them graded practically even. That's where, for me, I like Trey Lance and Lawrence, but I had, basically my top 4 guys were there, and they were, really Fields and Mac Jones you could interchange. It just depended on the fit. Mac Jones behind this offensive line that's still kind of developing. There's some nice talents we could talk about, but it's especially the Stone Forsythe kid. He's going to be interesting. But you look at this team, and he gives you more right away. Whereas Mac Jones could get creamed, and he needs more help around him to be as good as what Justin Fields can give you baseline right now. Exactly. And now, does Mac Jones possibly have as high or higher of a ceiling in the right system? Like if you put Peyton Manning behind a great line and gave him all of the tools that he needed, certainly, we're in a way that maybe with Fields, you might not get some of that, but I would say game to game, it would be negligible, the difference. And to Jones' credit, there's a story that's floating around. I don't know if it's true, but that, Nick Saban during practice that, I think you've heard it, where Nick Saban's basically telling, Mac Jones to stop throwing touchdowns against his, against this defensive look. And these guys are overwhelmed. He's trying to teach something here. And his response was, well, tell them to stop me then, and it was, and so I like the mentality that both players have. And that's, from that perspective with Fields, he's a competitor. I mean, Russell Wilson's a competitor. I remember my buddy Cecil Lammy, who's on the Audible at Football Guys, who's a host in Denver. I was at the Senior Bowl with him on Media Night. I don't go to Media Night anymore, but I used to go. And I would do stuff for like the New York Times blog. So I was covering stuff there. And it was during Tim Tebow mania when he had like that led them to the playoffs. He's back, man. Yep. So they're so we all kneel. So then, but
number 1 selling jersey, man.
Top 5, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Hey, he's loved in the heartland, man. Yeah, and now in the Southeast.
We got to talk about that later.
Yeah,
go ahead.
But Russell Wilson's getting interviewed by my buddy Cecil, and I just finished interviewing some guy.
I love this story.
Yeah, and literally Cecil says something to him, and I see Russell Wilson bolt out of his chair, and like that,
got up like he's gonna fucking fight him.
Exactly, and then calms down real quickly, kind of gains his composure, smiles, and says something. And I asked him what he said, and he said, I asked him how would he feel about backing up Tim Tebow in Denver. And his response after that body language and all of that was like, fuck you, I smiled and he said, I don't intend on backing up anybody in the NFL. And that's the mentality you want.
Damn
Tom
right.
Brady, I'm gonna be the best decision you ever made type of thing. You want that from your leader.
Yeah, that's what I think Justin has. And I also think a little like when you were talking, because every time you come on this show, you have great analogies, but you were talking about the chef. And I feel like you don't go to a Chinese food place and order pizza. So to your point, there are fits for quarterbacks. Oh, that's the perfect fit. That's the perfect coaching situation.
That's why I thought the Jets should have taken Justin Fields.
I to this day feel the same thing. The Jets are going to rue the day they took Wilson over Fields. It's the Bears' luck, because as I sit back and I saw someone in the chat ask me, as a coach, I'm going by my tape and I'm going to select. But Chicago has been a place of body bags of quarterbacks. Just look around. It's just like they're all over the place. There's no one survived this. So getting the right personality has to be in the equation when you're analyzing as the GM, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. You need someone that has that it factor. We had Kaplan on, David Kaplan from ESPN 1000, and he said it. He's got that it. Russell Wilson standing up like that. He has the it. You see it. I saw Russell play. I'm like, this fucking guy is going to win the game. It's not over. He does. Justin Fields has that. So finally, I could say the Chicago Bears have the guy that has the it. Now, we only know his college tape. So Matt Waldman, Phil, Shane, we're projecting this like everybody else into the NFL. I saw Berlissimo's comment. Now he's got to deal with Matt Nagy, the play caller, the designer. Is he going to go crazy? I want to be the smartest man, or is he going to do what Justin does well and your conversations, Matt, with Ryan Day and incorporate that? That's going to be the big story for me. But my question after saying all that in putting this into context is, do you feel like the Chicago Bears would do a disservice if they didn't say this is an open competition now, Dalton and Fields, and let's see who's going to start day one? Or are you quite the opposite in saying, listen, Andy starts, let him get acclimated to the NFL, we'll see where we go, and then it's Justin Fields or the best man win?
I'm a believer that it's nice to give a quarterback some time. Because I think that that I've joked that this is like that quarterback development is the John Wayne swimming school for boys. You basically just throw them in the water, and if they survive, then okay, great. If not, well, I guess you couldn't learn. You didn't know how to swim. Fine, but you should learn. And there's a lot of that there. And I've had people tell me it's like searing a steak, and sometimes they just burn the meat to a charred crisp, that's beyond a char. It's just like a brick of ash now. And that's something that you don't want to put them in a scenario like, say, DeShone Kaiser, good or bad tape, whatever you want to say. He was in Cleveland in a complete dysfunctional mess with no veteran quarterback. Yep. By the way, Zach, hi, welcome to McDonald's. I'm Zach Wilson. May I take your order? And the manager is like in the back, like, stealing the supplies, because I don't think they have a veteran quarterback on that roster either. But when you look at this, giving Fields time to see what's going on, Foles and Dalton may not be great starters, but they've been competent. And that tells you that they're smart enough in terms of preparation, in terms of understanding of how the game goes, in terms of the advice they can give, in terms of helping them, in terms of helping Fields say, we've been here before. This is what you want to do. Here's how you can work on this faster and get better at this. Here's how you can learn this faster. When the coach says this, these types of, you can they can guide and be mentors in a way on that level. And I think that's important enough. I personally think in a perfect world, you would allow your quarterback time to see the field, bench them, see the field, bench them, and go from there. And give them a chance to, like, when they get overwhelmed, take them off the field and let them watch a little bit. But in this era, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So, for me, if you can give them anywhere between, 4 to 8 games, I'm okay with that. Even if he looks great, early on, because
you want to hold him back
just a little bit.
A thoroughbred.
Just
you don't want him out the gate.
And I don't think it's a bad thing too. There's potential here that the Bears have 2 rookie offensive tackles. That's not out of the question here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So you let Andy Dalton get the shit kicked out of him for a few weeks that way, and Justin can learn by watching that too.
And the thing that we're going to have is a preseason as well. We didn't have that last year, so there's going to be a time for Juan Castillo to identify his 5. So by preseason week, end of week 2 of preseason, he should have identified his 5 guys that he's rolling with. And then as a coach, I would start those 5, the 3rd preseason game for one series, and say, go out there and fucking kick some fucking ass. Let's go right down the fucking field. Then you're out. Get to watch everybody
and see
have some incentive there.
Yeah, and see, with that preseason, you can also use that to look at the tape for the past 3 to 4 games, along with your scrimmages and practices, and see what Fields is doing well, what he's not doing well, and take your time developing what wrinkles you want to put into play with that. And you can also put those wrinkles into play with Dalton or Foles, even though neither of them are going to run the way Fields does, but Joe Flacco couldn't with Lamar Jackson, and they had the same offensive concepts that they installed so that the offense could get up to speed first. The other 10 men,
smart coaching,
get up to speed. Then they put Lamar in, and everything else is gelling. And now it's about Lamar getting acclimated and not having to deal with a minefield of stuff. And I think that's why I would prefer to give them a little time, because even if they install special things specifically for Fields, but use them with Dalton and Foles, they can get the offensive line to gel a little bit. The receivers can be on the same page, at least enough that it's not an absolute train wreck, when Fields comes out there. And now it's just about him getting acclimated, not everyone getting acclimated to each other.
I want to ask you both this, Shane and you, because I guess the way I'm asking this, my answer. Do you think it's important that Justin Fields reps in preseason be with the first team as well?
Yeah, I would. I think absolutely you have to give him some reps there. I mean, Andy Dalton's, what is this, year 11, year 12?
I know that see this rookie.
I know that he's he's on a new team and quote unquote a new offense. But Matt, wouldn't you agree that he's absolutely got to get some reps with the ones?
Yeah, I think they'll do it. I mean, it's assumption of rational coaching, but yeah, I think that they will. And your rationale is perfect for it.
Yeah, because I just think you have to be prepared differently. I think Matt Nagy, I've said it from Jump Street more so than anybody. I'll fucking pat my own self on the back. I question this guy's ability to be a head coach because he's never done it and he wasn't prepared. And I think Matt has had to look in the mirror. I'll tip my cap to Matt for what they've done offensively and getting Justin Fields, identifying that your 2 tackles needed to be replaced or you needed a left tackle 100%. They did that. They're showing where they're going with this offense. Now he's got to put it into play. But the big mistake that he did was the year before COVID hit. He pulled his whole offense and never played them once in the preseason, not one fucking rep. And when you went into that season, the 100th year, you were embarrassed by the Packers in a game, your defense absolutely annihilated Aaron Rodgers. You had every right to win that game, and you couldn't do anything offensively because you thought you were a fucking brilliant motherfucker, and you left all your offensive reps that you talked about so important. And then Dan Wiederer and these motherfuckers trying to attack this network when we were saying it's the dumbest shit ever, including the old guy on the old network saying me and Shane are wrong. And I venting that shit out right now that Matt Nagy get this shit
Yeah,
together.
he essentially was Nagy was just essentially saying that the only thing that's going to stop us this year is injuries. That's
Exactly.
literally what his
bubble wrap
game plan
these
was.
fucking
Yeah,
guys.
and you can't play NFL football that way. You can't.
I got it all off my chest, man. If he ever does that, that's why the Justin Fields, Matt, you are going to fucking come on this show after preseason games and talk a little bit about what we saw. I'm already volunteering you. No, because I want to see what you.
Was that a volunteer?
Only because if they and I say they,
You're in the army now. Yeah, go ahead.
If the Bears put Justin Fields in reps with second string players, then it just creates questions. Just put him out there with the ones and allow him to get those learning reps against starting quality. I don't want to hear the shock jocks on the radio saying, well, he's playing against guys that'll be working at Burger King next week or McDonald's. You hear that. This is the NFL, man. I can't even believe anybody would say there's not. Every team has great fucking players on it. So it's important to get your great versus another great so they're prepared for the season. So I will be fired up if they don't play Fields versus the ones in preseason. I think it's important. You can't be worrying about leg injuries or injuries. That's not how the game of football's ever been played, ever.
No, I love it. All I can think when you keep saying McDonald's and Burger King is Zach Wilson trying to get the green shake and screwing up the green shake machine. But slipping on the floor. Yeah, the Shamrock Shake. Exactly.
Yeah, you had him as your sixth ranked quarterback.
Yes,
correct.
Yes.
So did I.
I think he'll be okay. In terms of what they want to do with that system. It's just a matter if they can get that offensive line up to speed.
And how much does surroundings off of the football field play into? I mean, with New York media and that's what comes into exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's what's in play here. And that's, Phil and I were talking in cars and Barelissimo, we were all talking about this pre-draft. And that's why I just couldn't, to me, Justin Fields, when he said in the Bears press conference, I'm made for this. He could have been saying that in New York, and he was ready made for New York. I don't know.
Competitors compete,
Yeah.
If you're a great fucking basketball player, are you itching to get out on the court? I mean, that's what you do. For me, I've lived as a fan of this football team. You growing up as a Browns fan, I'm sure you've experienced it too with the quarterback dilemma. You're just waiting for that one guy. And I know Cap was quoting Keith Van Horn, and we did see it with McMahon. He was the only guy that I could remember saying, I'm the fucking man, motherfucker. Fuck you, Pete Rozelle. Fuck
well,
you,
yeah, he said as a rookie, he came into the huddle.
Doug Flutie.
As a rookie, he said somebody came into the huddle, and Jim McMahon said, "Shut the fuck up. This is my huddle now.
Yeah.
I'm the quarterback. You're going to listen to what the fuck
He's
I
a
say."
rookie.
And Keith Van Horn's like, "Holy shit, we got a quarterback.
Yeah,
here we go." And then they're off and running. Yeah,
and he did that at BYU. That game that they were down in the fourth quarter, and Lavelle Edwards wanted to punt, I think, and he refused to come off the field on fourth down, and they had to call a timeout. And he convinced the coach. He's like, I don't want to lose. We're going to lose doing that. Let me win this game, and they won the game.
That's the react. Listen, there's so many kids that were more than talented enough to play in the league, and for whatever reasons, their stories go this way. It's like It's 1,000,000 to 1. It's like the fucking mega number, mega millions to get to the point where Jim McMahon right there has gotten to, and hundreds and thousands of others, right? But there's that other level, Matt, that elite, that Tom Brady, Drew Brees, the avenues they Kellen Mond. There's those avenues. Warren Moon. Talk about a fucking story there. Had to go to the Canadian Football League and break all these records only to prove himself. And I saw some people getting all up fucking panties in a bunch about white privilege. Go read what white privilege is before you get offended. It's a reality. Don't be a bigot. Know the fucking truth. That's how I stand by that shit. So does Matt Waldman. There's a level of integrity. It's not a shot at Mitch Trubisky. It's a fact. It's a fact.
Yeah.
So Mitch will be the first one to tell you straight up like that. I'll tell you. I'll see it and I know it. The reality is there's bias. And if you think there isn't and that talent trumps it all, look at Charles Leno starting out there. His money made him start. That all these other factors are bias, and it happens all the time in this league. And fucking, I could tell you stories that I can't share. I want to share them, but I could tell you so many stories where truth, the best player sitting on the bench, just because it's a power trip.
Doug Marrone had to ask for permission just for James Robinson to get a shot to compete after all the injuries they had. They still had to ask because
the guy that's busting 50-yard runs and breaking tackles and running like his hair's on fire every time you want. He's the only thing in Jacksonville that was worth a damn, right? And he's sitting on the bench. There it is. Matt Waldman giving you fucking straight up facts. It's like, come on, don't be fucking ignorant. I don't want you on this channel. I don't need your like or your view. This isn't what it's about here. That's what Chris Sims is doing. He wants you. He got you. He got you fired up. We weren't trying to get you fired up.
Matt,
the term white privilege is not racist in itself. It is not. I'm sorry, Kurt. That is not a racist term. It's a reality. I'm a white guy. I don't have any fucking issue with it because I've lived it. And in reality, if it makes you uncomfortable, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
Sure does.
But the reality is that's what makes you better.
It doesn't make you some flag burning racist, because of to talk about it or that to know that it exists, or to not know that you have it and to act like, that it's not an issue. That's, part of the problem. I won't go too far into that, but part of the problem that we have is that we can't even talk about racism without people thinking they're being accused of being the Ku Klux Klan, and it's like, and that's like the extreme form of it, not the everyday thing that, that we all know that people are like, I just wish it was just acknowledged some of this stuff, implicit biases. Exactly.
It happens.
It is what it is. And it goes to quarterbacking. It goes to
the quarterback. Right. My Uncle Sam, I told Matt this story privately. I'll say it here. He's the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. He wants a certain black quarterback drafted. Wants him. This is the guy that drafted Ozzie Newsome. Saw Ozzie's going to be a tight end for us. Ozzie was a wide receiver at Alabama. Go look it up. My uncle moved him to tight end. Said that's what you're going to be, and you're going to be amazing. I love my family, okay? So I know there's a little bias. So when my uncle tells me this story and he says, I want this quarterback, again, I won't tell you the name. That's my word. But I can tell you the subject. And the owner says, absolutely not. No way. No way. Well, that quarterback did big things. The reality was Sam identified the talent. That quarterback's in the Hall of Fame. So you could fill in your own blanks and try to go back in history and do that, and that's fine. But there's the owner showing bias. and it was worse because there's other quotes that I'm not going to share, but you can only put that. So I've lived it, I know it, and it's real. And Matt Waldman knows it, and that's what this show is. Like he said, he could say it on this show because it's keeping it 100. And if it makes you upset, honestly, I've been racially treated with bias in my life. I've experienced it because people didn't know what the fuck I was. So it's like, is he Puerto Rican? You know, I've seen that bias towards me. I've seen it. And you live it and you experience it, and then you have empathy. Because once you are empathetic and you understand it, it's okay. It's okay.
And it's hard for some people to see. It really is. And I don't blame them. It was hard for me to see at first early on in my life. But the more you start to see others go through it over and over again, and you can't explain it, like you try to explain it away. Your mind wants to find a more logical explanation than that. It's just natural. But after a while, you run out of reasons to be able. Basically, you're just pulling a thread that just undoes the whole sweater, because at the end of the day, you see it and it's there. So I mean, and if you haven't, and if you don't see it right now, you may see it one day. If not, well, maybe you chose not to want to look. So
it goes across the line. I see what Paul DeBastos is saying. I totally agree. There's assholes in every fucking, and that's where you learn. That's where you learn. Like there's assholes. Like some of us can't stand being around our families, but we're taking offense to this stuff. Come on. My uncle's a fucking asshole. It makes me uncomfortable with what he said. You've all experienced that. So understand empathy and understand that this is real. That's all I'm asking. That's it. That's all Waldman's asking. I'm not putting words in your mouth. This is the reality. I just think people, I'm a black man. I agree. Nothing but respect to y'all. Keep up the good work. I'm not even speaking for anybody. I'm just speaking the truth. And I think our audience has an expectation on this show. There was a moment last week's show, Matt, that blew my mind because I was so focused on obviously what we're talking about, Justin Fields being prepared, but there was this stigma attached to Chicago, and then they doubled down on it when they took Mitch, when you had two guys that are generational talents in Watson and Mahomes, and it makes it look worse. It makes it look worse now. We took Trubisky. They don't want to draft a black quarterback. These are the hard conversations that people can't have, but Cap's on here talking about it, and Matt Waldman and everybody. And if we can get through this together, then we can actually speak truth. That's what Keeping It 100 is. So here's Justin Fields, and that stigma attached to this organization that I love, this team that I love, is gone in one draft. Now, all of a sudden, the whole energy of the town, the energy of people, just really, really realizing that this situation is something bigger. And I think, please stop saying you don't see color. I want you to recognize that I'm black. I just don't want you to treat me less than because of it. That's our girl. She's a producer on this show.
We're all different. We're all different. And there's cultural differences. There's historic differences because of what happened with our history. There's nothing wrong with it's diversity is recognizing and valuing differences. And not, and I think I think there's well-meaning to say I'm colorblind, but what it does is it unintentionally can erase the, the value of what's not the majority. And I think that's where people don't always understand it. So I think Sherry makes a great point.
It's amazing. This show, I love, like today I had a very hard day. I'm going to keep it 100 with you guys. And you're kind of dragging because I'm getting home. I got to feed the kids, take them to soccer practice, go to this thing. And then you're kind of drained. And then the music starts and the show begins. And then a conversation like this happens.
Yeah.
Where, it's not it wasn't in the script, Matt. There's no script on this show. But for you to talk about it, I felt like I had to defend you and double back down because it isn't anything racist to say and point out what white privilege is. I won't tolerate that. I thought you were eloquent, honest, and completely thoroughly truthful. And that's the difference. And I think this show will offend some people, and they can go watch another channel.
Right. That's a room key put. I hope you guys don't lose. If we lose followers, we lose followers. That's not why
You think I'm nervous about that? I don't. That's never been.
Be gone. That's what I say to that. Yeah.
I don't want a follower that's not. That's that thing, Matt. Speaking of highlight analysis, what did you call it? Logo?
Yeah, logo scouting.
Scouting.
Scouting the helmet. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not a guy that likes people patting me on the back and then he's a fucking ass. That's what 90% of these guys are searching. Chris Sims is trying to get people to click on his thing, but half of them say he's an asshole. You're talking about him. That's all he wants. I want learning, empathy, family, values. Let's change somebody. If we help one person, Shane and I are getting if I read an email to you, I can't even get through the email because I start to tear up and get emotional on how we've saved people's lives with this show, with the conversations, the debates, the humor. That's what this show is about. There's a reason why I play Matt's quote on his show, the Football Guys podcast, about our show. It's because it was fucking truthful from him talking about this show and what we do here and how much fun he has. I hope you're having fun tonight.
Well, I mean, hey, it didn't even register that this was going on because I figured the way you guys had talked on other shows, I figured fine. You know,
we did talk
about
it.
And that's exactly. So that's why
we did.
I mean, hell, I was talking about Teddy Bridgewater for the same reasons.
Yeah.
Back in his draft when Derek Carr got nervous and threw up before his pro day, but we're questioning Teddy Bridgewater's leadership and his skinny knees, even though I was supplied with tests that showed that he aced a lot of the components that the GMs around the league were saying he didn't master, that he wasn't a leader. I think, if anything, what we've seen from Teddy Bridgewater is that maybe his play on the field hasn't been great, but he's been sought after because he's a leader and he's tough and he makes good decisions for what he can do.
I guess this could be the transition. Speaking of Teddy Bridgewater, I want to get your thoughts on what's going on in Green Bay, Matt. What do you think? What do you feel like is going to happen there? I know you obviously have ins with some people. Have you heard anything, or what do you think when September rolls around? Where do you think the number 12 is going to be?
Well, there's been a lot of talk that it was going to be Denver. And obviously I've got people who think that there was a draft day possibility, that they might have made it. At least there was an offer on draft day, but Green Bay backed out. That may still be the case, but I'm a believer that, I don't know, I kind of think he's going to end up sticking around there. I think Green Bay's I think they're looking at their depth chart and they're like, well, we've got Jordan Love, which was I got to say at least a mistake in the first round.
There he is.
Hawaii
is better than OTAs.
There you go.
Hey, our guy Olin Kreutz is in Hawaii. Maybe he can be.
Yeah. So they just don't have any. This team implodes without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Unless Chad Kelly doesn't implode off the field, because we're back at him because they tried him out. He's on the roster now for minicamp.
They did sign him.
Yeah, for minicamp.
Does that say anything about, like Hogan Johns talked about this, and I guess I wasn't really looking at it from their perspective that they brought up, does it say anything to you about their belief in Jordan Love? Now we know he's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. We get it. But if they were totally sold that they were 100% in on this kid, and they knew that they could cash in on Aaron Rodgers and get all of these assets in terms of draft capital and There was a rumor out there that Bradley Chubb would be involved and Jerry Jeudy would be involved. And they're still not pulling the trigger. Does this say?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't even dress for a game last year, Matt, as a first rounder.
I think it says what we said before about quarterbacking, which is there's a lot of teams that when they draft quarterbacks, they look at the guy who's hot right now and think, add water and we can make this guy happen. I think Jordan Love was the Patrick Mahomes, just add water, meaning that, we'll get him in a camp. He'll develop somehow magically, into being the guy who not only does he make crazy throws with a big arm, but he'll make the right throws with the big arm. Well, I'd rather have the right throws, and never have any crazy throws.
Right.
And, that's the problem with Love and Drew Lock, is that those were two guys that people compared to Mahomes, and it was all flash that they compared. They didn't compare the substance of the decision-making of the player and the logic behind what they do and how quick they react and all that stuff. But yeah, I think it speaks volumes.
How much, getting back to the Chicago Bears, I don't know. My father was on X's with the O's. We did this Sunday. We were looking at running backs, Khalil Herbert and CJ Maribel. And before the show started, my dad, we're preparing. He's like, Phil, I got to tell you, the Chicago Bears with Tevin Jenkins. He's like, I love Tevin Jenkins, but I'm telling you right now, this kid, Larry Borum, I'm telling you, this kid is something special. I think he's the best fundamentals that I've seen on tape out of all the tackles, all of them. So how are you feeling about the Chicago Bears offensive tackles now?
Well, I mean, I feel like that they have options. I think that's the nice thing is now not only with Jenkins and what you get from him, because he's technically fine and he's someone who can set fast enough, even though he's got the shorter arms, I think he'll be fine in terms of what he does. And then with Borum, you could probably play him inside or outside if you need to. With Forsyth, you can probably do, you can use him outside. It seems to be a guy that is very good, with being able to.
We don't have Forsyth.
Did we not have Did I miss out on him?
No, I think he came to Chicago. I think
no, we didn't get Forsyth. He ended up signing. Where did he sign? The Patriots?
I missed that. That's my bad.
That's okay.
That's all right. So
we have Borum, Jenkins. There's Borum right there.
You threw me off there for a minute. I'm like,
because I was
Stone Forsyth.
So you know what it is? I looked it up on a site
Seattle.
that I normally trust.
Seattle got it.
And I looked them up on a site that I trust, and they had him mislabeled. It's right here, but I won't.
Matt, cross off your preseason appearance because we can't bring you back now.
Yeah, that's all right. and the best part is I don't study these guys. I only study the skill players.
Yeah.
So, but Borum is a guy that is known as a mauler. He's someone that the critique on him that I've heard, and it can depend on what reps you've seen with film and how much you've studied it, is that he tends to be more of a guy who absorbs contact and absorbs the initial foray as opposed to going out and taking that man out immediately, being the aggressor.
Right.
But big, strong, good hands, in terms of being able to use his hands. I think that you get a guy. I think you get a guy who can play on the right side, that should be good for you right there. And
I think you said it all by saying that they have options. They legit have options now. That's something we haven't had in Chicago.
He thinks Ifedi will be in the Pro Bowl, and they tried him at guard, Ifedi, last year. So there could be a move back to guard if they feel Borum. So this Matt Waldman quote, "They have options," is real, and I feel like for the first time in a long time, I feel like there is an attitude that's coming into the offensive line room, whereas before we're just hoping that Dieter Eisland gets a shot because he's got a great attitude and great toughness. Now you got a bunch of guys in there that I feel like has changed the whole identity of what they have, and that's exciting. So before we let you go, or you're welcome to stay and chill out with the doctor too. I don't want to push you off because you are family on this show. Those of you just tuning in right now, this is Matt Waldman, my brother from another. I love this guy. If you haven't read his analysis, his book, The Rookie Scouting Portfolio, you're missing out. If you like to read, this guy's one of the best writers I've ever read. And that's not because he's sitting here. I told my wife the exact same thing. Your ability to articulate through word something that I should say that when I'm on the show. That's really it's so good, your analysis. So Rookie Scouting Portfolio. So out of our drafts, so we got, let's see, we got Khalil Herbert. What were your thoughts on that running back before we let you go? Go ahead.
Love Khalil Herbert. I think he's like a Dalvin Cook starter kit in terms of he's someone who is very smooth. He has that curvy linear movement, that ability to bend around obstacles without losing speed. And that's the better runners have that without having to make hard cuts. He's a better zone runner than he is a gap runner right now. He can try and look for a cutback as a gap runner, and you don't really want to do that all that often unless you're absolutely sure that it's going to be there. So he'll look for the bounce or cutback a little too often on gap, but zone he's very good at. He's someone that if he has the ability, his ability to work through contact was really strong at college. If it projects well enough to the NFL, he can be a starter in the league. I think because he's got that top end speed you're looking for. He's a smart runner overall, and he has a real good feel for navigating. I think that if Montgomery ends up elsewhere at the end of his contract, they could roll with Herbert and be okay. But I think they're going to have a nice 1-2 punch with them, especially when, whatever they decide to do with Tariq. But I think that Herbert is basically a guy. I watched him at Kansas a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And everyone was telling me to watch Puka Williams, and I'm watching Puka Williams, and this Herbert kid comes in, and I'm like, why is nobody talking about him? And then he transferred, and I'm thinking I would have transferred too if they didn't start me over Puka Williams. I mean, no offense to Puka, but Puka's a scat back who's who's
Puka shit. That's what I used to say.
Puka is a good an exciting college back. That's it, and
the scat back.
Yeah,
he's not.
Khalil Herbert is a better scat back for the pros and someone with potential to be every down. And Marable, I mean, he's kind of an outside guy without a ton of speed, but he can catch. And he does make some intriguing decisions. He might be fascinating. And then there's Daz Newsome you guys got. I'll just end with that.
Yes.
I mean, good slot receiver. I think that you might get yourselves a little bit more of what you hoped Anthony Miller was going to give you. At a discount cost, maybe not the upside that we all hoped Miller was going to show, but he's quick. He's good at being able to make the first, second guy miss. He gets open, and he has enough burst to separate in the intermediate range of the field and attack those zones. And I think that's where he's going to be used a lot anyway.
Well, you are the man. If you haven't, follow him right there at Matt Waldman. You're on Twitter. You can go to the website. There it is. Matt Waldman's 2021 RSP Rookie Scouting Portfolio. He's even got the post draft available for download right here. Or is it coming in 3 weeks?
Oh, it's available already.
It's available now.
Yeah.
It's available now. Get it while it's hot. Matt,
appreciate it.
You said it all. I always allow you to stay if you want, but if you have to go, we completely get it. I love you. You know
Much
that.
love, my friend. Much
you brought
love.
it tonight, and I just love having you on the show. Tonight's conversation, in and above itself, I know meant a lot to a lot of listeners out there. So Jose, becoming a big fan of Matt. Look at that.
Well, I'll say this.
Yes.
If you liked the nature of the conversation that I had, you can go to my site and just type in the search bar race, and you'll find some conversations I've had with people in the industry about it, as well as just sharing my own experiences about this type of thing. So it's not new on my side. I may not go elsewhere and talk about it, but I know I can do it here.
Yes.
And that's a big deal. So I appreciate you guys. Much love to y'all. I love this show. It's my second home now.
Yes.
So,
Thanks,
I love it.
Matt,
Thanks,
thank
Matt.
you for coming on. We're going to have you on in the summer. We got the Matt Waldman song going to be prepared for you. You're going to have to turn into that. And you're going to love it. I'm working on the song, but believe me. But thank you
Thanks,
so
my man.
much. Give my love to the missus.
Hey, right back at y'all and y'all's families.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Matt.
Take care.
He's
Thank
Matt
you.
Waldman, the rookie scouting portfolio, and the great guy. Terrible producing.
That was me. That was me.
Oh, that's you?
Yeah, that was
I'm
me.
going to give him this.
Nerd alert!
What's up, Cars? You got your Justin Fields shirt on?
Absolutely. Why would I not do this today, right?
But
we got to get to our guest. I know he's been he came in early. That was
our fault.
That was your fault, not me. I'm Maron.
We'll blame that one on Barlissimo.
This guy has created the athletic test that everyone was talking about with Justin Fields. And apparently, I don't know anything about the test. My wife keeps asking me, who's on the show tonight? I go, the doctor who did the test for Justin Fields and our friend Matt Waldman. She's like, what test? I go, I don't know. I don't want to do any research. I want him to tell us about the test.
You make Phil nervous when you say test. And if there's written portions of it, it's just not going to be.
I'm actually a pretty good test taker, but not good in math or geography. Not good in math. But he is Dr. Scott Goldman in the house tonight. Scott, what is up? How are you tonight? Thanks for joining the Tape Never Lies Network, Keeping It 100. Had a lot of hot discussion tonight. And I'm glad you're here to soothe us down and get us ready for some answers here. I brought our nerd at Bears Nerd here to help us get through, especially for me, these questions.
Well, then let's get nerdy.
That sounds like a new song. There's his lambdas there.
Yeah, I'm the third from the right in that.
You look familiar. I think we pledged together. Yeah, that looks about right.
Thank you.
Do you know the song, Doc?
Which one?
The lambda song.
The Mega Moose.
There you go.
Clap your hands, everybody. Everybody clap your hands.
Yes. And everybody clap your hands. Lambda, and
the Omega Moose. The one thing the 80s gave us was unparalleled movies.
Oh my God.
And great guitar solos. The one thing that we miss now is definitely the guitar. So we got to make that happen.
And any movie that's also got Goose, too. I mean, it's got Goose from Maverick.
Yeah.
So that's
great
right.
Right.
Goose was a nerd before he became a stud.
Yeah.
Cars, there's hope for you.
That's
right.
No,
there's none. No, it's that ship sailed long ago. Unfortunately,
you've definitely outkicked your coverage, like all of us. So
that's for sure.
That's true. So there you go. I love 80s movies too. My favorite 80s movie. I know Goonies is in my top 5 of the 80s movies.
You can't have an 80s list without Goonies on it. It's impossible. To
I
this day,
agree.
you say Truffle Shuffle, and our entire generation gets ridiculously giddy. So,
yeah. Yes, we do. I would love to see the one Truffle Shuffle from Angelo. I would love to see that.
Hard pass. Hard pass.
Hard pass.
Hard pass. Hard pass.
Angelo Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut.
There he is.
Let's get into this, though. Yeah,
let's get into the doctor. He fits right in. You came right in. You came in strong. That's what we like Porky's. That was a great movie, Doc. Were you a fan of Porky's?
I don't think anyone's really allowed to say on air that they're a fan of Porky's.
Yes,
I can say it.
That is the.
Let me tell you a quick story about Porky's.
No, you don't want to say it. No.
Are you going to tell us why? You're going to tell us why they called him meat, Phil?
No, I'm going to tell my story. I'm sleeping over my friend's house. His name was Phil too. There was 2 Phils in our neighborhood, and his parents had HBO. So we're sleeping on the couch, and the parents think we're asleep, but we had this all planned. Porky's is on, and we set our stuffed animals up a certain way so we could see through the stuffed animals to watch Porky's. And that was the first time I ever saw a woman's breast. That's my true story. Porky's.
This has gone somewhere I didn't expect this to. So
what?
Back on board here, Shane.
Hey, Porky's. It's a part of the 80s childhood.
But the AIG test, doctor.
Yes.
So,
thank you. That's a good transition. Great transition.
Yeah, let's start there. How did this?
Well, I think one thing I would put out there is you might have wanted to do your homework because you would have recognized that you're talking to a licensed clinical psychologist about the first time you saw breasts. So if you want, we can have you sit on the couch and we can go deep into what that really means.
We can't afford the hourly rate, Doc. And candidly, we don't want to pay it either for him. Phil's got a lot of issues. You'd be dedicating the rest of your life to those.
It was a moment I'll never forget. How about that?
Clearly.
Yeah. So I'm on the couch sitting here for therapy. That moment. Hey, Porky's. I don't even remember much. I do remember one scene about meat that Shane's talking about, but we won't get into that. But let's talk about this test. How did you start this test? And when I see the number 6,500, or is it 65,000 people are transitioning this number, but it is a 65 something professional athletes that have taken this test that you've created to assess what, Doc? Honestly.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'd like to give credit where credit's due. I have a partner. His name's Jim Bowman. And so Jim Bowman is a school psychologist in New York. He and I met at a place called the Albert Ellis Institute. So again, not to get too nerdy, but for those that know, Albert Ellis was one of the founding fathers of modern psychology, cognitive behavior theory. He created something called rational motor behavior therapy. So big shout out to Albert Ellis, and I'm grateful for his training and education. While we were there as fellows, the big debate was between Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. So that tells you how old it is. Right? Yeah. And the interesting thing about this debate was Ryan Leaf had all this upside potential. He had a cannon for an arm. He looked like a quarterback. He was big and strong, but Peyton kept winning. And they kept talking about like the intangibles. And at that time, so I have 2 PhDs. One's in clinical psychology. The other one's in school psychology. During the whole school psychology aspect, it's all about learning theory, intelligence, and how people, absorb information and what they do with it. And so there's this, and again, getting super nerdy, there's this theory called the Cattell-Horn-Carroll theory of intelligence. So if you have kids and they've been diagnosed with a learning disability or giftedness, more likely than not, they've been exposed to a test that measures intelligence based off this theory. So my partner and I, we were going, God, wouldn't it be cool to test Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning? Because everybody's talking about hand size or arm strength or, how fast they run the 40. And we're going, what about how these guys make decisions? What about how these guys digest information? How do they learn the installs every week and all that kind of stuff? We go, isn't the mental game kind of important? There he is. That's my partner, Jim. So
shout out to him, Jim.
Yeah, he's a good looking guy. So we basically said, all right, how are we going to define sports? So we started with that. And our definition of sports was it's an unsolvable puzzle in a chaotic situation. So then we said, that's right. So we said, all right, so what is the cognitive abilities that one needs to navigate that kind of space? So we spent about 15 years doing research in sports, firefighters, first responders, police officers, military, etc. We followed the American Psychological Association's ethical guidelines for test construction. And during all of that 15 years experience, I pursued another passion of mine, which was sports psychology. So I was one of the first embedded psychologists in an athletic department at the University of Arizona. I was one of the first 6 in the nation. Spent 8 years there. Then the University of Michigan recruited me, so I came out and worked for the University of Michigan for 4 years in their athletic department. I was the director of their performance psychology athletic counseling team.
Is that with Harbaugh there, or was it with Coach?
So my first month on the job was when Harbaugh got hired.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I had an opportunity to work with Coach Harbaugh and his staffs, plural.
Did you analyze him because he's like a maniac?
He's a very interesting person, really unique individual, brilliant mind that thinks about football a lot. And
yes,
I enjoyed our interactions.
I love Jim Harbaugh. I wanted him to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. I still would like him to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears because of what you're saying. But anyway, that theory of the brain and being constant in that, is it something that you look for in athletes?
So one of the things is, with my day job as a sports psychologist for the last 20 years, it was about helping athletes, helping coaches, helping teams, right? So it's like psychology is really the study of human behavior and human interaction. And that's really a part of everything in all aspects of life. I just looked at it as far as the quest for excellence and elite performance. So while I was doing that, Jim and I were working on the AIQ, and we brought it to market in 2012. And now we're working with teams from all 5 major leagues in the United States, 2 governing bodies regarding the Olympics. We work with 2 different entities in the Olympics, fire department, and also some English soccer teams overseas.
Really?
So, yeah.
What about the military?
Yep.
Like
we've had some individuals work with the military and dialogue about it. We're just a couple of slapdicks who had a neat idea. I'll be honest with you.
You're keeping it 100. I love this.
Yeah, and I mention it because it's like we have a $0 marketing budget. We're just not out there promoting this thing or anything. We just thought it'd be cool to do. So whoever finds us, if it's applicable, it's applicable, So yes, I think the military is a great fit for it. And we've had some military folks, special forces folks that have come out and kicked the tires on it and played with it a little bit. And it's been an awesome experience.
I'm fascinated because when you mentioned that 1998 draft, right, that's one of the most memorable ones for me, because I remember watching people destroy the Colts for passing up on Ryan Leaf because of all his physical talents and his abilities. Like, it was a legit discussion for a lot of people. So how long, if it went to 2012, was this basically almost like a 14-year process to kind of figure out that this is what you want to do, come up with the methodology, kind of go through some test runs to make sure things were falling in the parameters, that sort of thing afterwards?
Yeah, so this is where we can get really nerdy, right? Which is,
we got our nerd. You have 2 PhDs. I only have 1. So no, go ahead.
That's all right, Nate.
Get real nerdy right here. I want
to. What we did is you can't visually see intelligence,
right?
Like you can visually see speed. And what's really interesting is if you put a 350-pound offensive lineman and a 180-pound wide receiver and have them run a 40-yard dash, there's a pretty good chance you can tell who's going to win even before they take that first step. But intelligence is just not like that. So for us, Jim and myself, we said it was really important that we started with a place of integrity, that if we're going to give people an interpretation, that the interpretation is 100% spot on, accurate, and all of that, because you can't see it. So it took us a long time. It took us 15 years to develop it before we even brought it to market. And you were talking about it's 6,500 professional athletes. Like we have a really unique database so that when we're comparing who took the test to the database, we're really comparing elite athletes to elite athletes. We're not comparing elite athletes to, average Joes or Janes. And I think that's an important thing because when someone does well on the test, it's saying they did well in a population that's already at a high level of performance.
And so like what I find interesting about this is it seems, if you're familiar with Bears QB history, we've had a lot of guys that had physical talents, but either didn't work very hard or didn't, lacked. I find some of this intelligence often is a confidence in themselves, right? Like there's assuredness that I know the answer or I know what I've seen. So I'm curious, right? Obviously, Bear fans were heavily invested because Justin did so well in this test, but it from what I've kind of looked at and done, it's almost like it's a photographic memory, if that's the way to put it, where they're able to see something, kind of analyze it, look at it, go through a whole bunch of other questions and things, and then be able to circle back and kind of regurgitate or talk about what they saw, 2, 10, 15 questions ago. Is that kind of what I saw?
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there. Just as a point of clarity, like when you talk about the assuredness, I would chalk that up more to knowledge. So the unfortunate reality is people in the industry will go, oh, that guy's got a great football IQ. No, what they're really talking about is knowledge. Like knowledge is knowing the right answer to the test. Intelligence, by its simplest definition, is the ability to acquire, process, and apply information. So the way that I make a point of distinction, like when I talk to head coaches and GMs, is I say, knowledge is knowing the answer to the test. Intelligence is how you go about finding that answer or solving that puzzle or riddle. So to your point, one of the things that we did when we constructed the test is we said, look, we have to make sure that this test is robust to race, religion, socioeconomic status, country of origin, or anything. In fact, in this year's draft, we ended up testing close. We tested almost 400. I think we got to 387, 397, something like that. The 9 of the top 11 scores for this year's draft were minorities.
Wow.
So where other tests that measure personality or other kinds of entities, there tends to be a cultural bias. And so
we were here early for the conversation. We talked about the bias, so it's amazing. I think it's ironic that it's coming up again, but sorry to interrupt because this is very interesting to me.
Yeah. So maybe there is a vibe in the universe right now. I don't know. But going back to your point, so when we created the items, we had to create them in a way. So I always use this example. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, born and raised. On a lot of intelligence tests, there'll be a question like, what is a schooner? I don't know what a schooner is. I'm from the desert. And for those that don't know, a schooner is a boat. So I'm at a cultural disadvantage and a geographical disadvantage in that intelligence test. It's missed. So we eliminated that kind of stuff. We eliminated language. So to your point, the way it looks to the athlete that takes the test, it looks like they're playing things like Candy Crush. It looks like they're playing games like Tetris. What we're doing is we're putting them through cognitive tasks that require very specific cognitive abilities to execute. And we do it in a way that they can't cheat. Like they can't come up with a test-taking strategy that
From
then
their agent can't help them cheat the test. It's all random, right?
They can't cheat the test unless, of course, they were to just take it a million times before doing it. And we control who gets access to it and who takes it.
That's awesome.
So really, we're just trying to ensure the integrity. What's kind of cool about our test, and like if I can flex for a moment, is we actually have found statistically significant correlation with on-field performance. So in football, that's like interceptions and DBs. It's rushing yards and running backs. It's false starts and offensive linemen, like really important stuff. Tackles for losses with defensive linemen, stuff like that. In the Major League Baseball, it's ERA, batting average. I mean, important stuff. In the NBA, we have found that higher AIQ scores tend to go to the NBA, lower scores tend to go G League or international. And so I think we found a piece of the puzzle of why some people might not pass the sniff test. Like they go, God, that guy doesn't look right. And yet he's always in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We call that football players.
Yeah.
If we're scouting, we say, oh, that guy's a football player. He doesn't look the part. He's not fast as the next guy, but he's always in the right place. So we've never had a term for it other than, and I've gotten shit on this when I'm doing my video breakdowns, Doc, and I just do it like I'm coaching and I'm talking. So pardon me for a second, just the analogy to give you context, I'll break down the Chicago Bear. I just broke down Justin Fields, for example. So I'm breaking down Justin Fields as if everybody in the locker room is watching me break it down. So when there's certain things on there and I say, well, that's just a football player right there. So, and then you'll get the average person. No shit, he's a football player. What are you fucking talking? Now you're getting me even more excited about this test, because if there is some sort of device or aptitude or some sort of way to find and separate those guys, then those guys that don't test as well and those teams that just draft, we talked about it with Ryan Pace. He would just draft these potential to be good guys and he would skip over football players. He seems to have completely gone away from that. Maybe it's your test that's helping, but the reality is this is really amazing to hear that you kind of have something, a device, a mechanism that goes beyond tape and has a nerdish way beyond a stat to get the root of something like this. Am I right here?
Yeah, I think you're on the right. So the way that I would kind of adjust your angle, because I think you're on it, is the ultimate question to ask is, how does he do it? Yeah. And I think the answer there is he does it by size, he does it by speed, he does it by work ethic or character, or he does it by intellect. Like, so when the ultimate question, when you're looking at film, whether you're a GM, a fan, a coach, you're going, wow, he just did something amazing. Now, how did he do it? Did he do it because he's got an amazing catch radius? Did he do it because his reaction time is phenomenal? Did he do it because he spent 10,000 hours on a jug machine? And the reality is, more likely than not, it's some combination of all of it. And so we're just a small part of the puzzle. We're not the answer, but we help contribute. One of the things I'll tell coaches and GMs is I'll say, like, our job is to amplify the signal and diminish the noise, because there's a lot of information out there. Like, I don't know if you all remember this. This was a few years ago, where everybody said that Russell Wilson's secret to Russell Wilson's success in Seattle was he had ginormous hands.
Yep.
He wouldn't fumble the ball. He wouldn't throw interceptions. He could throw in the wind. He had huge hands. So the year after that kind of thing came out, the Buffalo Bills ended up drafting E.J. Manuel in the first round when everybody else was projecting him as a third or fourth round pick. Now, granted, I was not in the draft room, so I don't know if this is true. This is just what I heard from people that were reliable.
Mm-hmm.
The reason E.J. Manuel bumped up on the draft board was he had the largest hand size of all of the players of that year's draft, of all quarterbacks.
It happens all the time. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I was talking about. My uncle was Sam Rutigliano, head coach of the Browns, and I quote him all the time. There's a lot of shoe salesmen in this league, Philip. You would be surprised how many people don't know what they're doing, and they have huge positions in football. Maybe Matt's not that right now. Maybe Matt's turning the corner, but the reality is, to this story, there's truth to it, because I heard the same fucking thing, Doc. I heard the same thing. Now, I saw someone ask a good question. What is the difference between the Wonderlic and this test in your terms, if you were to explain it?
Yeah, so I like to talk more about who we are than who we're not, but because the question was asked,
Yeah.
Wonderlic was created off of a theory from 1934, and it's really more logic reasoning, like Dave can sit next to Tom, Tom can sit next to Susie, where does Larry sit? And we're looking at stuff that's a little bit more current. Like, again, the Cattell-Horkheimer theory of intelligence is the predominant theory used in most intelligence tests, the Wechsler scales, Stanford-Binet, Woodcock-Johnson. So what we're looking at is things like spatial awareness. Spatial awareness is knowing where you are in relation to space, key landmarks, teammates and opponents. So again, imagine a quarterback who's scrambling and has to kind of have his head on a swivel because people are coming from 360 degrees, and he's got to know where the first down marker is. That's spatial awareness. Wonderlic doesn't assess for that. So that's one element of it. Another element of difference is you don't know if a score is good or bad in the Wonderlic. Like, is 20 a good score? And then you also don't know a comparable, like how statistically significant is a score of 20 versus 23. With our test, we follow, again, APA guidance. So like a lot of standardized tests, 100 is average, and then one standard deviation above or below the norm is 15 points. So if you've got a score of 115 or higher, you statistically significantly have the opportunity. You're statistically significantly strong in an area. If you're 130, that's like a genius level. So that's another element. And then the final element that I think differentiates us, I took the 20 years of experience that I had, and I had the relationships with all these football coaches and basketball coaches. So we made position-specific recommendations and analyses. So, for example, going back to spatial awareness, say you've got a running back who's got bad spatial awareness. They catch a screen pass. They have to rotate 180 degrees to go down the field because they catch the pass with their back to the end zone.
Right.
Now they have to go and recalibrate where they are in relation to space, key landmarks, etc., and go. So if someone scores low in spatial awareness, this play becomes a disadvantage. Now in college,
they're
not as fast. The game's not as fast. This rotation delay might not be as much of an issue. But at the pro space where everybody's big, strong, and fast, that hurts. So
that's amazing.
So you go, what do you do with a guy like that? And the simple solution is really easy. Don't throw him passes with his back to the end zone.
Right.
Have him go on a wheel route. Have him catch the ball with 45 or 90 degrees so that he doesn't have to recalibrate as much. And it's such a low-tech, simple solution can change everything. And so what we've done is we've said, look, we're going to make sure that our test captures the intelligence with a really high fidelity. And we're going to have specific recommendations that will hopefully help the coach, help the player by simple, easy calibrations.
That's
what we did.
Well,
that's amazing.
And I think the other part that you mentioned is I always loved the Wonderlic because it would be like someone would go out and let's just say they'd score a 12, right? And then the next time they'd retake the test, it's like 30.
Double it, yeah.
Right? Like, because you know, one of the things I kind of took interest in what you're saying is like you can't prepare for this test. It's not like a test that I could study for to know how the questions are coming in. Like the Wonderlic was such a kind of a bad use case because it's like you take it a second time and everybody's score was always jumping up 20 points, and now they're in the really good range, and now everyone was okay to draft them. So that's a nice little tie-in.
Right. It was like a fucking a merit badge. You had this pass. It's the same thing with the SAT. You had to get a certain amount to get noticed. If you didn't get it, I mean, back then it was Prop 48, and that kind of came with a stigma. This guy's not smart. But there's levels of intelligence that Scott Goldman is freaking destroying here where they matter. You know what I'm saying? We look at guys, that's just a football, but he runs with amazing instincts. We look at David Montgomery, for example. How does he do that? They're all missing their assignments. David's breaking through it. Maybe his yards per carry aren't what people want to see, but the reality, what he just did and how he performed is amazing because he felt it instinctively. You now have a goddamn test and some way to get through that. Now, let me ask you this, because it's so interesting. I could be talking to you all night at this point, but
I think we're on pace for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, you have never heard our show because
they tend to go 17
4-hour
hours.
shows.
It's no big deal. Yeah,
With
it'll be fine.
Let me ask you this. Justin Fields comes with the brand and you become that much more popular. That's fine. Our guy Barlissimo reaches out to you. We want to talk to you because we want to know what this test is. Justin Fields' score was off the charts. Explain to our fan base what exactly is Justin Fields according to your test.
Yeah. So here's where things get a little complicated. We really honor and feel a high level of integrity with our relationships with the teams, which is why, like, if you go to our website, you won't see any of the teams we work for. You won't see we don't exploit the relationships. So one of the things that happened was someone got a piece of information about the test and they said it out loud and it kind of went viral because I think the dialogue about Justin Fields, there was a lot of mystery of,
let's just say it was
Mark Sanchez.
It was Mark Sanchez. It was the guy in my backyard from ESPN.
McAfee did it. It was on his show.
No, who questioned Justin Fields? What's his name? Dan Orlovsky. Thank you. Dan Orlovsky from Shelton, Connecticut. We beat you, Dan. Head up. But anyway, Dan goes out there and questions Justin Fields' ability to read coverages and projecting a racial bias. It felt it. I know Keyshawn Johnson and Jay Williams in the morning were ripping him apart. There was this, you could tell that this was something going on. And your test was saying the complete opposite of what it was. And when you watch the tape, obviously it's a whole different story. But go ahead. There was bias labeling him. So I think someone went out and shared this information because of it. Is that what you're saying?
So what happened was, again, for 20 years, I've been in this industry and I've got some really good relationships with some really great people. Mm-hmm. And we were having a conversation casually and the dialogue came up. And so I shared it and it ended up going, it ended up getting kind of put out there.
Yeah.
And then unbeknownst to me, I think it ended up going viral, right?
You got pissed, probably. I'm seeing this because there was a negative being pushed on this kid.
Well, no, I wasn't pissed. I think it's the complexity of understanding the sport entertainment industry, which is there is an interesting kind of paradox between the media and those that work in the industry because we all need each other. And there is a little bit of cat and mouse, right? Like we need to be supported. Like if we don't sell tickets, we don't have fans, like none of this works, right? Mm-hmm. So we all need to kind of work together. And sometimes in our coordinated dance, sometimes we step on each other's feet.
Right.
So it got out there. That wasn't our intention as a company or my intention as a person, but it got out there. And I think it got out there with good intentions because I think the good intention was, hey, here's the dialogue what people are saying about this guy. And here's some evidence that might be worth considering. So I wasn't pissed that it got out there because I think it got out there for the right reason, but it certainly wasn't our intention for it to get out there. In fact, I do not talk about anybody's scores without either the participation or the permission of the player. And so I know you guys will be like, tell us how he did, tell us his scores, give us the numbers, like all that kind of stuff. And it's like, honestly, unless all of a sudden you pull up a box and there he is, like, it's just not going to be something I'm going to do.
Right,
but what I would share with you all is he did well. And he did well in certain areas that I think are really important to a quarterback profile. And I think what Mark Sanchez was talking about that is notable, and I think one of you was mentioning this earlier, is he did really well in one specific domain where he scored perfectly. That meant we didn't capture his true ability. And what I mean by that is, like, imagine going back to like running the race. Someone's top speed is at, say, the 20-yard mark, but you only measured somebody up to 15 yards. You go, holy crap, this guy's fast. But if we had just put 5 more yards out there to measure, he would have been even faster. He did something like that, where he scored, like, just to make it up like a random number, it's like he scored 10 out of 10. And so if we had given him 15, would he have gotten 15 out of 15? If we had given him 20, would he have gotten 20 out of 20? Like, we don't know.
Wow.
And that happens less than 1% of the time. Because when we created the test, like, the interesting part about creating an efficient test is the ones that everybody get right, you got to throw that item out.
Right.
The ones that everybody get wrong, you got to throw that one out. The ones that you keep are the ones where some people get it right, some people get it wrong. And so the fact that he got them all right, it's like, well, who knows at what point would he have had to have his top end speed intellectually.
When you see that happen, does you and your partner, do you guys sit back and is that surprising that you see somebody actually, knock it out of the park like that? And that, you know what I'm saying, where you were saying to yourself, man, if we had expanded this, then we could really measure his true level. Or were you really surprised to see somebody do that outstanding in that one area that you really weren't expecting it to happen? I'm talking about just from anybody.
So it's a good question. I'm going to give you an answer that doesn't quite answer it, but I'll try to circle back on that.
Yeah.
We actually don't care if someone scores high or low on this thing.
Yeah.
In fact, when I talk to coaches and GMs, and I think sometimes that shocks people, they're like, what do you mean? Like, don't we want high scores? I'm like, not necessarily. It goes back to our quest is trying to figure out how someone does it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you've got a running back. I don't know why I'm in a running back theme tonight, but let's say you got a running back who scores low in this. That's okay. It just means see hole, hit hole. Don't ask him to pick up. Don't ask him to pick up a blitz on third down. Just have him be a first down back who sees hole, hit hole. The problem and the challenge there as a coach is teams are going to adapt to that. Once they see him out there, they go, we know what's going to happen because we watched film where he can't pick up the blitz, so they're not asking him to pick up the blitz. He's getting exposed. But that's a subject for a different matter. It goes back to this. If someone scores high on this, that's great. If someone scores low on this, that's equally helpful information because what you can do as a team is you can design a game plan to help the player out.
Right.
Our goal was always just to
like
help.
what you were saying, no screen passes to this guy.
Yeah, exactly. You start being a better football team and a better scout and a better GM and a better coach when you understand weaknesses, so you can then teach or game plan accordingly to the skills that your players have.
That was our mission and dream. Again, like
I have your mission statement. I just read. No, I made that up. But I can be paid to help you with this.
I appreciate it. Maybe we'll take it out.
This is so. You could see in the chat. I don't know if you could see, Dr. Scott. I cut you off only because I want you to see how much love you're getting. You say it's nerd talk. Our fans are going crazy. We have over 339 fans now listening live. Obviously, there'll be more downloading the show. And your ability to answer, like Will Mookie Hill from New Jersey, the way he answers questions directly expresses the world of business side of things and how it correlates. It's just an amazing thing. Now, can anybody take this test? Like, can you give us this test to take?
So that's like a yes with a but. So yeah, anyone can take it, but but we don't give it out to everyone. Like, it's not this isn't just like a downloadable app where you can just do this.
Right.
Again, to maintain the integrity of the test means that we can't let people have it just to have it. Now, if you guys want to take it, you're welcome to do so. And I'm sure we can kind of set it up in sort of a demo way. You could compete to see who scores the highest of all of you.
That would be awesome.
we could play with that kind of stuff. Now, I want to go back though, because Shane, you asked a specific question. I didn't quite answer it.
Yep.
You said, were we shocked or amazed, or what was our reaction to it? One of the things that we do is we look at the raw data. When we see something that's atypical, we look at the raw data to make sure that it stands. So sometimes this happens where like a guy might accidentally double tap a button that puts them through the test and they get a low score. So when we see something that's atypical, the one thing that we care about is, did we accurately capture this person's ability?
Yeah.
And so that was, whether it's high or low, that's what we do.
So
And
I want to go
hard is
back
that
to the
separate your fandom from this, right? Like, you know, like you're obviously very passionate about sports. You're very, I mean, it's got to be really tricky to be like, kind of keep yourself almost, I don't want to say isolated, right? But like keep that portion out, like check your kind of almost like check your fandom at the door as you're reviewing this or creating this or modifying it all the way. Like, how does that carry through?
Yeah, in a moment of vulnerability, I would share this with you.
Mm-hmm.
If I had known this was going to happen, I'm not so sure I would have done it. But having been in the world of sports for 20 years, the thing I didn't know is that I would actually lose my ability to be a fan.
Yeah,
really.
I no longer cheer for teams. I cheer for people that I care about. Because, you know, again, having been in this space, you feel very bonded and connected. So I like the players that I know who are great stand-up guys and really good people. I like watching them be successful. I like when the coaches who I know how much time and effort that they dedicate to their craft do well. I get really excited about that. But, you know, when I was a kid, Sundays were the world. Like, you know, my family, we would all get under the blanket, put a fire in the fireplace, and my mom would make like a stew and we'd watch football all day long. Like it was like, that was how we spent our Sundays. Now, you know, for the last 5 years, I've been on the sidelines. So I worked with NFL teams where I was on the sidelines. So I was working on Sundays and I didn't realize that, like, so if it's a bye week, I'm not watching football on Sunday. I'm like riding bikes with my kids and stuff. And that kind of concept of losing the idea of being a fan, it feels like a very personal loss. I'm very grateful for my job. Yeah. I love my job. Like, you know, the AIQ was a passion project. My day job is what I really, and I take both of them seriously. I just didn't know that was going to happen.
Wow.
Interesting.
Doc, when you
what
go
were
back
you a
to
fan of, real quick? Sorry, Shane. Then
which team?
Yeah, growing up, what was
from
your
New
team?
You're a Cowboys fan.
Well, Urlacher is from Mexico, so I was wondering if that transferred to the Chicago Bears.
I got a funny Lance Briggs story for you.
Oh,
yeah,
looking at Arizona. But,
were you in his Lambo and he crashed it?
Were you at the he skipped the practices to open up a restaurant? Were you at the opening night?
No, but to answer your question, my family is all from Buffalo, New York.
Bills fans.
And my grandfather actually used to do the equipment for the Bills.
Oh, really?
Every summer I would go out there. My grandfather would take me out there and I'd meet people like Jerry Butler, you know, Joe Cribbs. I had a Joe Cribbs helmet, stuff like that.
That's awesome.
What's interesting was when Coach McDermott got hired in Buffalo, I was still at the University of Michigan, but I was consulting with the Miami Dolphins at the time. And Coach McDermott said, "Hey, I've heard a lot of good things about you. I'd love to bring you out and, you know, see if you'd be a good fit for what we're doing here in Buffalo." And Mike Tannenbaum, Chris Greer, and Adam Gase, Coach Gase, sat me down, and they were like, "Don't be a fan. Don't go. We're doing something really cool here in Miami. Like, stay with us, and like, let's like." The way Coach Gase said it, and I love it, he said, like, let's do something that no one's ever done before, and let's really like F stuff up here. And I loved the passion, and that was the moment, really, right, where it's like the funny part. And again, I don't know, maybe it's because it's getting late and the true storm's coming out. Like the funny part was, I'm working for the Miami Dolphins. We're going up against Buffalo, and my parents are cheering for Buffalo. And I'm saying to them, like, you know, Mom, Dad, like, I love you, and I know you love me, and you realize like job security
Yeah.
was by the outcome of this game. And they're like, yeah, we really want you to have a great job, and I hope things work out well for you, but let's go Buffalo, you know?
Yeah.
Then she jumped on the folding table and she did that whole thing.
Yeah, that was my mom. My mom.
But Doc, go back to the day like when all of this really, you know, the Pat McAfee show and Mark Sanchez, was your phone blowing up, and were you getting bombarded that day when this really caught fire that day? What was the reaction to that like with you guys?
It wasn't like our phone was blowing up, like all of a sudden we got 20 more customers.
Yep.
But what happened was there was a lot of people who were asking questions and reaching out to us and shooting us emails. And again, one of the things that I think is important is I answer all of those. So it took a lot of that time and attention, and I was happy to do it. I mean, I don't mind talking about anything. But it wasn't like, oh, all of a sudden, you know, Manchester United called us and said, hey, here's $1 million for your product or anything. You know, one thing, and I don't know if they're a competitor or not, but, you know, Pat McAfee did an amazing job in that interview.
Yeah.
You know, he asked some incredible questions. He set an environment where it's kind of like what you all are doing tonight. Like, you know, I think that went favorably, and I hope that this is going favorably.
Absolutely. 100%.
And I don't think it's me. I think it's really what you all are doing and how you're controlling the conversation. I'm just trying to answer your questions. So I think what they did and what you're doing is really what's causing the output. I don't think it's the subject matter.
Right.
Well, it's a new way. It's a new
quick.
way to look at it. That's we've been looking for this, to your point, like we'll go back, right? There's always been this belief that black guys can't play quarterback, right? There's been these weird little things that have worked their way into the fabric of the NFL that you know, we have found to not be true. And there's new ways to measure these things and new ways to view this data. And to your point, like it's a very good point to bring up. Like the Wonderlic is from 1934. The world has changed fractionally since 1934 in the way that we view intelligence testing, etc. And it's just nice to see kind of something new work its way in. And it is like, for me, it's exciting to hear the way that you've tried to strip some of those biases that are built into everything and just make it like, this is data. The data could just be basic cube shapes and you know, we can find a way to test this without having to throw in all these other things that not everybody has experienced to. So that's, for me, that's super exciting to hear.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think there's something to be said for, if you really understand the person, then you really understand the player. And human beings are complicated. Like, we are complicated creatures. Like, you want to hear a fun fact? Here's a fun fact. We're the only species on this planet that compete recreationally. Like, you know, rhinoceroses don't have a Super Bowl.
Right.
and so I think what's kind of amazing about that kind of notion is we're also the only species to ever go to the moon. And I think there's a correlation there, because in competition comes an inherent curiosity and exploration. And so I think what Jim and I did was we were just curious about what would it be if we could create a test that measures sport-specific cognitive abilities. And I think, and I hope this doesn't come across again like a flex, but I think what we've done is we've disrupted the way people are doing things.
Totally.
Absolutely.
No, you completely 100% agree.
Let me ask you this. Are you working now specifically with a team, an organization, or are you just doing this on the outside to help administer this for the league or other leagues or college or whatever? Where are you now, basically?
So I have, me personally, as a consultant, as a sports psychologist, I have a contract with an NBA team.
Okay. And
then with the AIQ, we have, I want to say about 20, 25 active contracts across all 5 major leagues. So there was 7 teams in the NFL that used us this year. We're under contract with 6 teams in the NBA that are going to use us
Wow.
for the draft, this upcoming draft. And I think we're in pretty serious negotiations with 3 more.
Nice.
It's awesome.
That kind
That's
of
awesome.
growth in 10 years is like sports is always a very antiquated way of doing things, right? Like we scout the way, we do this the same way year in, year out. So in 10 years to make that kind of change or have that kind of adoption is really incredible. Congratulations to you for that.
Yeah. Again, I've been very, very fortunate to have been in some really unique spaces with some really unique people. And those opportunities have been awesome. I mean, I consider myself very, very, very lucky.
Let me ask you this question, because Berlissimo's having an English hearty tart. He wants to know, how does a high AIQ apply to System 1 and System 2 processing, and how does that positively or negatively apply to being able to make consistently good decisions in a flow state? I have no idea what System 1 and System 2 processing is. I think a flow state is he speaking your language here?
He is.
Yeah.
And it gets complicated.
Okay.
What he's really talking about is sort of like conscious versus unconscious thinking, and really about like, being in the flow, also called like being in the zone.
Yep.
Right. It's sort of like
factor.
Yeah, it's like when people talk about like, oh man, I was just out there and the basket was 8 feet wide, or the game slowed down and I was running through people and all that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is pretty amazing when it happens to an athlete. And it's interesting because I think in sports psychology, you'll see that is kind of like the holy grail. And if it was something we could recreate, I think we would. I also think if it was something we could recreate, it might even be the death of sport, because we'd just be like putting everybody into the zone. So it's kind of mystical, right? Where does intelligence fall into that? Intelligence, and the literature supports this, is one of the greatest predictors of success. The reason why is you can discard calcified ways of doing things. You can be creative. You can improvise. So what happens is, I think where intelligence helps people is problem solving, especially when things go wonky.
Right.
So,
is it like an ability to tap into, like, how much does stress and anxiety come into your test? Like, some people, we say it in sport, fold under pressure. Some people rise into pressure. Just in my experience, I'm just speaking on myself. I know my adrenaline flows when the lights are on. I'm at my best. I don't know what it is. I don't even remember doing some of this shit. When I watch it back on tape, I'm only speaking for myself. Can you test that? I know what you just said about if we get everybody in that zone, but that's what the goal is, rather, not the girl. The goal is to get there. So is that something, adrenaline?
Was that a Freudian slip?
Yeah, it was.
Let's go back to your college days.
Yes.
And let's assume for a second that you were a pretty strong guy, and there was a really attractive woman. You were really attracted to this woman who says, "Hey Phil, can you open this pickle jar for me?" Now, if you're a strong guy, you're like, "No problem, I got this." Right? Yeah. It's an easy task because the task requires strength. So sure enough, you pop it and you look like a hero. Maybe you even get her digits.
Yes.
Now, if you're not a strong guy and the task is the same, all of a sudden you're going, okay, here I am. And you're like, shit, I'm looking like a fool. So now the question is, what other kinds of things can I do to compensate for what I'm missing? Like maybe I'm intelligent enough that I grab some kind of friction, like a rubber mat, and that helps me get leverage. Maybe I pop the bottom, so I think opening up a jar of pickles is a relatively simple task. Scoring a touchdown in an NFL game, way more complicated.
Right.
when you talk about anxiety and mastery and some of those other kinds of things, it becomes such a complicated formula that I can't say, oh, intelligence guarantees it. Oh, mastery guarantees it. Oh, being the strongest guy on the field guarantees it. Like, again, if we knew such things, if we knew the secret sauce, if we knew the formula, the algorithm, just go to Vegas. It'd probably be the death of sport. No one would watch.
Yeah. Become too predictable almost, right? Like
that is very
and
true.
you don't have these great stories of a Tom Brady going in the 6th round all of a sudden, right, and becoming the greatest quarterback to ever play, because now that guy's going first thing overall. And like these little stories that we love, the Terrell Davises and everything, all of that would probably go away too.
Here's the interesting thing about the whole Tom Brady 6th round. A lot of people go, wow, the Patriots were geniuses to get him in the 6th round. I think the interesting perspective is if they knew what they were getting, they would have taken him in the 1st round.
Yeah, they wouldn't have passed on him 5 times.
Absolutely. But it's a way that doesn't get examined too much. Like the most recent one is DK Metcalf, right? Like everyone's like, oh, how did they luck into him in the 3rd round? It's like, well, they passed on him like everybody else did. And now they're doing that. And so that's a fun way to look at it.
I love DK Metcalf's interview. I did the interview at the Combine. I absolutely love that. It was a memorable interview. I'm glad he's having the success he's having. I'm happy for him.
So you just threw that in our face and didn't give us any nugget behind it. Why did you love that? What was the one thing in that interview that stood out for you?
I gotta remember now.
I just keeping it 100.
Yeah. He again, not trying to disclose anything that's true,
exactly.
Is I think different positions in sport require certain psychological constructs. Wide receivers have to have a level of confidence to them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And and I found his answers were confident but not arrogant. And there's a fine line between that. I think that's what I remember.
Is that something that you can test in this test? Can you find that? No. Is there a love? Like, can you find? Because these are the things that, okay, I'll talk about. Mike Haynes was a tremendous football player coming out of college at Penn State, but he didn't love the game. So the GM and everyone fall on that sword because they missed. He didn't. Once he got paid, that was enough for him. Is there something in this test that can get? I'm just curious because these are the things that I have had issues when I'm scouting players. I see their tape. I don't see the person like you're talking about with DK.
Yeah. So intelligence is a genetically stable trait. What's great about that is analytics, and it is what it is kind of thinking. Like, yes, there's theories about neuroplasticity where we can change the brain, all that. But the reality is like healthy brains don't become super brains with brain training. It just, there's just not a lot of
I love that quote.
But there is evidence, like if someone's got dementia or decline, there are certain things you can do to help kind of reduce that rate. So when it comes to neuroplasticity, I know this took us on a tangent. I'm kind of like Fox Mulder, like I want to believe, but I have not.
I'm there with you.
But I haven't seen a lot of products that actually do what they say they do in that regard. Now, with that said, going back to your question, intelligence is a genetically stable trait. It is what it is. Personality is not. And when you talk about anxiety, when you talk about so asking an 18-year-old who they're going to be when they're 24 is really important to assess what happens in those 6 years. Like, I don't know if you all have kids.
We do.
Like,
oh yeah.
I had no problem flying. Like, I was flying all over the country for a lot of this stuff like that. All of a sudden, my kids are born, and I feel a little turbulence. I'm like, man, if this thing goes down, it's gonna be hard on my kids. Now, all of a sudden, I'm not a fan of flying as much anymore.
I'm the same. I'm the exact same way. That they've ruined me for so many things that I used to do. Absolutely.
Well,
it's a great fucking point right there.
But I think what you're kind of bringing up is there's something actually also beautiful about having something in your life that's more important than your own life.
Yeah.
That's what kids can be for us, right? So, but the point is, personality fluctuates all the time. So when I do draft interviews and things like that for teams, one of the things that I point out is I say, this is a small window, like 15 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever we get. It's a very small window into this person's character and personality in this moment in time. We don't know. Like, he could have just gotten off the phone with his girlfriend and they hadn't gotten into a fight. That's going to be how he answers the question. So I say, it's interesting because, and again, I'd rather talk more about who we are than who we're not. But with a lot of these personality inventories that are out there, there can be as up to 50% change when people take it 3 weeks apart.
Wow.
Well, there'll be like an alpha dog when they take it the test on day one, and then 3 weeks later, they're a complete omega dude kind of thing. And that kind of stuff.
You don't deal well with those alphas and omegas.
Well, the other thing is, like, if you ask somebody to take a personality test and you say, I want you to take it as a father versus how you would take it as a radio personality or a TV personality or take it as an athlete, like that in and of itself and what mindset you put yourself could change it. And so where I think what's really interesting in going back to your question about like, well, how do you know when a guy's in it for the love of the game versus money or all that kind of stuff? Like, it's really, really hard. What I try to do for the teams that I work for and have been doing for the last, 8 years, 8 years is I try to bring in a lot of my training so that when we're doing these interviews, we can have some depth and we can have some significant opportunity for this player to reveal what they think of themselves in an authentic way. It's hard.
So
I don't envy trying to be in the position of sometimes I'm sure teams are trying to get you to answer that question, and there's no way you can find that out with any sort of test or anything. So I don't envy you in that regard.
The best AD I ever worked for was Greg Byrne. No disrespect to the other ADs that I've worked for. They were all fantastic too. I don't have an issue with it. But the reason why is he said to me, Scott, tell me what I need to know, not what I want to hear, so I can make a well-informed decision.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that sentence and I said, that's my job. My job is not to take this guy or take that guy. My job is to make sure that you are well-informed so you're making a well-educated decision. And if you feel like you've made a good decision because you had all the right information, then I've done my job.
Where's Scott Byrne? See,
Greg Byrne?
Greg Byrne. Sorry.
He's in Alabama now.
Oh, that's why.
He works for Nick Saban.
That's the right way to say it. Absolutely.
Shocker. Doc, before we let you go, there's been a lot of people in the chat room.
Oh my God. We gotta get you back on the show.
They want the Lance Briggs story. We kind of got off topic with that a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is more on me and my stupidity than it is on Lance, right? So my very first year at Arizona, I'm walking in the weight room and there's this guy working out with a Bears shirt on. And I'm just trying to make conversation and establish rapport because like that's what you got to do, I think, to be a sportsman. You just got to be a dude. Like you got to walk around and say good things and be helpful. And you got to forge authentic relationships. So this guy's working out and I'm working out. And I was like, hey, are you a Bears fan? And he's like, I wouldn't say that. And he goes, well, are you a Bears fan? And I was like, not really. But like, I really respect and admire like the history of the linebackers. Like I'm from New Mexico and Brian Urlacher, I think is amazing. He goes, yeah, what other linebackers do you like from the Bears? So I start like listening like Dick Butkus.
Oh no.
And so I'm like listening to Dick Butkus and, like Mike Singletary. And then I brought up Lance Briggs and he goes, oh, what number is Lance Briggs? And I was like, oh man, like I didn't know. I was like 50. He's like, no, that's somebody else. And at this point, like some of the other people around were kind of laughing. So I said, look, hi, I'm Dr. Scott Goldman. It's nice to meet you. And he goes, oh, hi, I'm Lance Briggs. And that's Yeah, it's like talking about linebackers, talking about Chicago Bear linebackers to a Chicago Bear linebacker.
Yep.
It might be one of the stupider things I've done in my life. So that's my
great.
answer to the story.
That's awesome, though.
Wow.
He was great. I mean, he was having fun with it. And it didn't feel like it was at my expense, but it was a little bit at my expense.
When you were saying that, I thought you were going to go like, oh, man, I love Urlacher, but that fucking Briggs just annoys the shit out of me. You know, he missed that tackle last week.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
That
No,
would have been great.
it didn't go that wrong.
Yeah.
Well, you've said it all. You are
Amazing
a tremendous
stuff, man.
guest. So many people in the chat asking so many questions. So is there a way we can get you back on maybe in the summer before the season kicks or during the season and really talk a little bit more? I have a lot more questions, and we've already had you on for an hour. So it's like you're tremendous, a wealth of knowledge. And I got to shout out my guy Berlissimo for reaching out to you to get you on the show, because I'll keep it 100 with you. I'm like, well, what are we going to talk about with this guy when he comes on the show? There's not everything to talk about.
He doesn't know how to handle nerds. All he does is pick on me. So like he
Because
doesn't
it's
like,
like
how to do this. It's just unnatural for everybody.
The focus was on Justin Fields' score, right? You know, let's all be honest here. And then you open your mouth, and all of a sudden you're blowing my mind here with the knowledge that you have, and you finally giving me a kind of a resource, so to speak, to some of the things that I just have been. I've been around football my whole life. You talk about the Buffalo Bills, same with me, my father, head coach, and all the way down the line. So to have some sort of test that is able to encapsulate and put away bias of any kind and just find traits and why there's that's amazing to me. And your way to articulate it, the conversation, you could see in the chat, everybody on the show is loving you, honestly. So hopefully that's the long.
Thank you very much.
That's the long. And next time we'll have an intro for you, because we had a lot of family. I had 2 proms in the last week, Doc. So that shows you how old I am. And the senior prom and the junior prom for my daughters.
That's a story for him to lay down on the couch for.
Yeah, I might need an appointment, Doc, for these stories that I have to talk to you about. But I can't thank you. What's that?
All are welcome.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Seriously.
Yeah, it was great.
Tremendous. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Everybody here. Now, where do you live now? Where do you live?
I'm in Ann Arbor still.
Oh, awesome. Are you big?
Yeah.
Are you do you cheer for Michigan or what?
Well, again, I cheer for the people that I know there. I cheer for the
that's
ones that I worked with and stuff.
Okay.
So
You're not like your mom. You're like she would be like, "Go blue." That's it. But that's awesome.
Not going into it, but my great uncle and my grandfather, they went to Ohio State University. So my grandfather did the for the Bills. I went from working for Michigan when he's a Buckeye for the Dolphins when he's a Bill.
Only thing worse is if you work for the Patriots for your parents. They would
yeah.
Clearly, they've changed the locks to the key. Like,
I like that one. I like
everybody talks about how much they love home cooking. I think mine might have spit in it. You know, like
you got to show up to Christmas dinner with a TB12 shirt on just to mess with them. You know, walk in there, see what they say.
Yeah, that's not happening. I don't understand how that's not. Like, I'm not, you said walking in. You think I get anywhere near the house with that? That's just, it won't happen.
No. Oh, yeah. That's great.
Well, thank you so much,
yes,
guys.
Thank you very
follow
much.
him, Dr. Scott Goldman. You can follow him at Scott Goldman, PhD. He has the actual academic title. I just put mine up there, to be honest. And at Athletic Intel Q. Intel with a capital Q. At Athletic. Those of you listening on the podcast, it's at Scott Goldman. The S and the G are capitalized, PhD on Twitter. Scott, thank you so much for your time. God bless you. I really appreciate it. Dude, should we have Scott do a station ID, Shane?
Yeah,
Cool.
if he wants to, absolutely.
Scott, could you do it?
I don't know what that is. Like,
So I'm going to help you. It's going to be simple. Hey,
all right.
This is Dr. Scott Goldman, PhD, and you're keeping it 100 with my guys on the Tape Never Lies Network.
God, I don't know if I can pull that off.
Lance Briggs did it in one
this
shot.
would be bad take.
Lance did one take.
Hey, you gotta did you do it at 11:15 at night? You gotta give it to me one more time. I'll do the best I can. Hey, this is Dr. Scott Goldman. I got that part. That part I
get
got.
yourself, however you want to title yourself.
Yeah.
And then you go, I'm keeping it 100 with my guys on the Tape Never Lies Network.
All right.
I'm keeping it 100 with my guys on the Tape Never Lies Network.
All right.
All right. I'm going to isolate on you and count you down. You ready?
Oh,
You're taking the test yourself.
Yeah. This is part of the AIQ I'm failing. Hi, this is Dr. Scott Goldman, and you're keeping it 100 with my guys on the tape Never Lies.
Yes, the Tape Never Lies Network. You want to do it one more time? 3, 2, 1.
Hi, this is Dr. Scott Goldman, and we're keeping it 100 with my guys on the Tape Never Lies Network.
Perfect.
I knew you were going to get it the second time like a boss. Look at Claudio. He's clapping for you.
Awesome, man.
Thanks.
Great job.
Yes,
What's
thank
up?
you so
What's up,
much.
Doc? You know, listening to this
Claudio had
interview, it's
one
like
question.
What's
Go
up?
ahead.
No, it wasn't a
had-
question. I
go
was just
ahead.
gonna make it's like the opposite of that scene in Billy Madison. We are all now smarter after listening to this.
Absolutely.
I totally agree.
I feel more
Unbelievable, for real. Like unbelievable.
I feel more like Will Ferrell in Old School, where I'm like, I don't know what just happened there.
Came out of it, yeah.
But I will say, talking with the four of you now, it does feel like I'm in that Saturday Night Live skit because there is enough Bears stuff surrounding us that I'm like, this is fantastic. Where's Robert Smigel? Like,
Yeah,
why are we
exactly.
not? Why are we not doing that part of this?
There he is, right there.
There
he is.
I'm just kidding. We're all a part of this. You were the man. Thank you so much for your time. We'll definitely schedule back on. All the best to you. I really believe, especially after tonight, in what you're doing, and I can wish you nothing but success. Honestly, thank you so much again.
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity. It was fun. Thanks for the interview.
Thanks, Scott.
Nice, awesome.
Thank
job.
you, Scott.
Thanks.
All right, take care.
Scott Goldman, Dr. Scott Goldman. I mean, you hit it out of the park there. I think he hit it out of the park.
Yeah, that stuff is so, and you know, we're so involved in breaking stuff down, and this is so interesting to kind of get away from football a little bit, just to break down this. I love that guest, man. It was, the information was fantastic. I can't wait to have him back because, like you said, I have a bunch more questions too.
I want to replace cars with Dr. Goldman.
Tell you what,
You'd have to let him actually speak, though, Phil. So I don't know if that would work out for you.
Dr. Goldman was, no, seriously, in all seriousness, he brought something that I wasn't expecting to the table, and it just blew my mind live. Like this authenticity is what we speak and preach on this show, keeping it 100. And I just feel
the interesting part,
awesome.
Phil, like what you were talking about was, what really stood out to me was when he was talking about the spatial awareness with the running back, maybe take it's the test isn't just for the individual, it's for the organization to make them better as a whole, and it's
good or bad.
It's so interesting to see how
to get to the point,
right?
Him and his buddy, what did he say? Slapping dicks, and
a couple of slap dicks, yeah,
a couple slapped, and getting to the point of getting that test to do some merit and get away from the Wonderlick and all of the bias. Listen. On this show, it was like the universe was talking, because the whole first half with Matt Waldman, and people getting upset about white privilege and race and bias. And then to have Doc come on here and he wasn't listening. So for him to bring it up just authentically like that and really knock that kind of shit out and really make it what it's about. It's about the sport. Let's test to better and find talent and improvement in the sport. There's so many more questions that I have for him. And
I'll tell you, the 100 crew wants
right in. He fit right in with the 80s movies right out the gate. You can have a whole show on the 80s movie. The chat was focused on the 80s movies for about a good 40 minutes.
They want to see. I think they want to see us take that test. I think they want to They want to put some money on it.
Okay, well, we're definitely going to ask for the demo test, and we'll keep it in
fun.
privacy. It'll be a lot of fun with the
Phil, that thing that I sent you.
Oh
yes, the show,
you ready for me to do it?
Oh, absolutely.
We need breaking news, Shane.
Breaking news. The Tape Never Lies Network. Breaking news.
What's up, everybody? Father's Day is around the corner. You know, here on this network, the Tape Never Lies Network, my father's involved. Yes, we're going to have him coming on the show one of these Wednesdays.
Is that in the read?
I don't know, but my dad, I'm getting my dad this, Shane, for Father's Day. Father's Day is just around the corner. And you probably need a gift for maybe your hairy dad, Shane. I don't know.
What?
Make your dad proud this year and get him, yourself, and him a Manscaped lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right. The lawnmower 4.0. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code KI100. That's right. KI, Greg Braggs. It's not a one. It's not 2 1s. It's KI, Keepin It 100. And when I was a kid, I won't even tell this story because it'll get people offended. But
already heard about the boob. Because you don't need to know about
when
you don't need to share. You should.
I didn't have a hole in the stuffed animal, Will. I saw that comment.
You should probably finish your read before you go into a story.
Manscaped.
Right? Yes.
No, it says talk a little bit about the story. But I said I'm not going to talk about that time I saw something, so I thought my father should shave down.
What?
Bit of it. Manscaped is the only man's brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and just launched their Lawnmower 4.0. In fact, I received my 4.0, and honestly, as someone who has it, I could tell you this shit really does work. Imagine you, though, surprising your dad with a sleek, well-designed, and optimized body hair trimmer that says, your balls will thank you. Oh. Their 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe, yes, Claudio, skin-safe technology. You might ask, how is this Lawnmower 4.0 different from other trimmers? Well, this upgraded trimmer includes a multi-function on and off switch that can engage a travel lock. This is a great feature if your father or yourself do a lot of traveling. It also gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when you want to have more precise shaving. So if you're a guy that likes to shower in the dark, you got some light. Give him the light for them hairy balls. You can now shave your balls in the dark. The Lawnmower 4.0 even allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 through 4. So if you want a little extra down there, Mookie Hill, you can keep it. The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help battery length last longer. Yeah, you heard that right. Wireless charging, Angelo, if you're out there. It's a real thing now. Have you seen a nose bush sticking out of your dad's nose?
What?
Have. I'm getting this from my dad. I'm serious. because, well, the Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer that comes with this is the best nose trimmer on the market and a perfect gift for your pops. It's Father's Day, guys. They also are going to put a little bit of cologne, the Crop Mop Ball Wipes, Crop Reviver Ball Toner, Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant cars.
The cologne is great. I don't know. Have you tried yours, Phil, in the little
Yes,
care
my
package
wife
you got?
is very happy with the cologne.
Yeah, mine too.
For all the females listening, you'll appreciate this part. Manscaped products are cruelty-free, paraben-free, dye-free, and if you are a vegan, you're even happier because they're vegan. 20% off, free shipping, guys, with the code KI100. Get your dad a gift you know they will use. There you go. I did it.
All done.
I
One of your
did
best
the-
rants. That was one of your best
Yeah,
rants.
you
right
like
there.
that? You like
good.
that? There
Not
you go.
bad.
Manscaped sponsors Keeping It 100. You gotta love it. And I'll
Big
show
fan.
you. I'm gonna have my dad holding up his Manscaped 4.0.
Just
go there, Father's
the
Day.
trimmer. We don't
Just
need
the
to see
nose
Let's-
trimmer.
Yeah.
please.
So we do a nose
Let's be
trimmer.
clear on that. Yeah. I want to see
Oh my
what he's
God.
manscaped.
You guys,
Yes.
you guys hear that?
Holy cow! Who is that?
Angelo Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut. I'm on the show, Keeping It 100.
Angelo. Angelo.
Yes.
That's just
There he is. The hype.
All right, good, Claudio. Very good.
But what about Angelo? What about Angelo?
Tape never lies.
This is Angelo Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut.
But what about Angelo?
What about Angelo?
But what about Angelo?
What about
But what about Angelo?
What about Angelo?
This is Angelo Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut.
What about Angelo?
But what about Angelo? But what about Angelo? But what about Angelo?
What about
Angelo?
What about
What about Angelo?
What about
Angelo? What about Angelo? Bibi the Barbara. What about Angelo?
What about
But what about Angelo, eh? What about Angelo?
Thanks.
What about Angelo?
But what about Angelo?
What about Angelo?
This is Angelo Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut.
But what about Angelo? But what about Angelo?
Pero, ¿qué pasó con Angelo?
Hey, you see Angelo Joe Marino?
Angelo Marino from Wallingford,
Look all over
Connecticut.
for him. You see Angelo?
This is Angelo Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut.
What the fuck is Angelo Joe Marino? Angelo.
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 What about
Angelo.
Angelo. Angelo.
Angelo.
What
I'm working here.
Angelo.
What about
Angelo.
Someday I'm gonna buy a Chevelle. It just came out.
Angelo. Yeah. Couple bears, huh?
This is Angelo Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut.
What
This is Angelo Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
But what about Angelo?
Good, man. That's good. Uh-oh. Hey,
No, that's not
Claudio!
Angelo.
Everybody!
There he
The
is.
Dr.
man,
Jeff
the
Phil,
myth, the
Shane,
legend.
Claudio, Cars. How's everybody doing?
There he is.
I'm good.
Good, Angelo.
You have an intro longer than I'm allowed to speak on this show. That
Oh my
is something that is awfully darn impressive.
I'm very happy with that intro. Very happy.
All right. Well, welcome back, Angelo. That was fun. We're gonna wrap it up here tonight.
Oh man,
What a joke!
What do you,
Angelo? You've been away.
Yes.
You've been away. What have you been up to? Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've been working hard as a security guard and just helping my dad. That's all.
What kind of birthday cake did you have?
I had a nice cake from Mariana's Bakery in Meriden. White cake with pineapple, strawberry, and ricotta of cannoli filling and lots of rum.
Lots of rum is very important. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good time.
was Angelina Jolie at your birthday party?
No, I wish she was there, but she wasn't there at all.
She was busy. We know.
He flattened her out in the after party.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Angelo, you're so close to your camera.
Yeah, my gimbal, it died. I have to recharge it.
Totally prepared, Angelo.
You gotta be prepared, Angelo.
Angelo,
I know. I thought it was okay, but I guess apparently it wanted to die on me.
That's life.
Yeah. So Angelo, do you need one of those Manscaped 4.0s? What do you think?
You know
gonna use one
what?
of those?
That looks very interesting. I think I'm gonna be a candidate. I'm gonna need one of those.
Okay. We don't want to see a video of it though. Do not
All right.
make a video.
I won't
of
show
that.
you.
Okay. We'll take your word for it.
So where have you been, Angelo? We haven't seen you in a little while.
I've been working a lot in the Meriden Mall and just working with my father. I just been in Wallingford. That's all.
Well, how's the bike holding up? The mini bike.
The bike is doing good. The plastic cover of the carburetor, it broke, so I have to figure a way where I can get another one or fix it.
Alex Acevedo has a mini bike shop. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all.
He can produce you a part, whatever you need. You just gotta.
All right,
gotta
good.
ask him.
Well, how do you feel about the Justin Fields Chicago Bears signing?
You know, if you remember on one of the shows, I said if the Chicago Bears gets a really good quarterback, we might have a great chance of making it to the Super Bowl.
He plays wide receiver. He plays wide receiver though. Who's going to be the quarterback?
Oh, Justin Fields doesn't play quarterback?
Yeah, and Tom Brady's the coach. Yeah, you know.
I'm joking with you, Angelo.
We're busting your balls.
All right.
It's nice to see you again, though, Angelo. It really is.
It's nice to see you too, Cars. I have a big photograph of you in the barn, thanks to Draft Dr. Phil.
That
Where
makes
is
me
it?
a little
Aren't you in the barn?
He's right here. Wait a minute. Let me go grab him. Wait a minute.
There we go.
Oh, dear
He's
God,
right
I'm
here.
terrified.
You're right next to Angelina Jolie.
There she is.
That's where I
there you
belong.
are.
I'm gonna
There you
tell
are.
my
There
wife.
he is.
I'm gonna tell my wife that I'm sitting next
Cars,
to
you've
Angelina
officially
Jolie.
made it. Cars.
You officially made it, Cars.
Honey, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
Angelo, you know what you can do when we send you the the lawnmower 4.0? You can practice on cars in your barn.
Yeah?
Yeah, so you don't nick yourself.
Okay.
So
We-
it's there
Jackal.
Yeah.
What up? What up?
What do you got to say to Mr. Angelo Joe Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut? It's been a while since we've seen him.
I'm just curious if his ankle monitor has gone off this afternoon.
No, it's just fine, Chris.
Okay. Can that get wet, or do you still have to wear a bag in the shower?
I don't have to wear a bag. I like it wet.
Okay, good. I'm just happy to see you, Angelo. That's all, man. I love seeing you.
Yeah.
Angel, how'd you do selling flowers? I saw you were selling flowers.
I did phenomenal.
That's a nice one.
I bought about 25 plants and I sold them all.
That's really
Nice.
good.
You sold them all?
Yeah.
What's the lady situation looking like in Wallingford, Connecticut? We have any
That's what the
potentials?
bracelet's for.
You know, I'm getting old. I'm 37 now. I don't see too many people around my age, you know? So I might have to try to get them a little bit younger than me, about 25 or 28.
Well, where are you looking? Are you looking in the right spots?
That's a pretty niche.
No, I haven't looked yet. I haven't been going out. Eventually I will, though.
There you go. Angelo.
Yes.
So the true story is you kind of went on a hiatus. You missed the show. You kind of stepped over the line, right? But
Yes,
never
yeah.
again. Never again.
No.
Right? What's your
No,
theory?
not
What's
at
your
all.
theory going forward now? Keep it 100.
I'm gonna participate. I'm gonna bring a lot of energy to the show.
A lot of hype.
What? A lot of hype. And I'm gonna behave myself. That's it. I learned my lesson. I missed being on the show, and it feels like a miracle tonight. It feels like a miracle.
Yeah. What do you got to say to Larry Funkster Jones? You got something to say to him? He's got
I
a
think
lot of hype
Larry's
too.
doing a great job. I love the funk and the energy he brings.
Yes.
And I welcome him on board. I
You
welcome
gotta match it.
Team up.
Funkster Jones aboard the show.
Nice. You're going to be doing some promos, and we're changing it from the one chip challenge.
You like gummy bears?
To the
Yes,
gummy
I do.
The
Yeah.
gummy
Okay,
bear
we're
challenge.
gonna do the hottest gummy bear challenge.
But you don't put
Okay.
it in your mouth, Angelo. You
Yeah.
can't
I will put it
consume
in my mouth.
through your mouth.
It's not in your mouth. It
Yeah.
goes into another input.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah, it's another show.
His face.
It's an input that Greg Braggs is extremely familiar
Yeah.
with.
Yes.
That's what's
He's going to help
important.
you.
Does that sound okay, Angelo?
What?
He's reading
Is he on mute?
Sammy the Bull's
Oh.
fucking comment. He's getting nervous right now.
What,
Right?
what did Sim the Bull say? Because I couldn't read that good.
He says he's gonna slap you if you get out of line.
Yeah.
Sammy the Bull.
No, no.
Sammy the Bull is
No,
gonna slap you.
Sammy, I'm gonna be a good boy. No more.
Come on, 100. What do you guys want to ask him in the chat? Let's go. Let's
Yeah.
see some good questions for Angelo. It's
Angelo,
been a long
lot
time
of
since he's been
people
on.
have been asking, when's
Yeah.
Angelo coming back? He comes back
I
on.
missed
At the
everybody
end of the
on the
show.
show, and I'm so happy to be right back.
Angelo,
Yes.
how many miles does your mini bike get per gallon?
I think 25.
That's it?
Really?
Yeah.
What's the
Okay.
farthest you've ever driven it in one trip?
I think about 5 miles.
So how? Oh, okay. Where'd you go?
I went. I live in Yellsville. Yellsville is a section of Wallingford, so it's like kind of outside of Wallingford. You know, Yellsville is like it feels like another town. It's part of Wallingford, so I just went to, let's say, Center Street Market, East Side Market. I went.
Oh,
Have you ever
Do you
driven it
think
through a drive-through?
No, but I'm thinking about it.
You should.
yeah, we need
Take it-
to film this.
Yes.
You get ash in your face when you're smoking and driving that bad boy?
No. Actually, it comes out very natural. The
Okay.
wind just takes it.
Perfect.
There you
Have
go.
you, have
Do
you
you
tried
think
to
if
do a
we built you a ramp that we can have you jump a standing draft Dr. Phil? That's what I want to see.
You have to wear a cape.
I'm gonna have to practice cars. I'm not a daredevil. I'm gonna have to practice on that.
You a bear fan yet?
He's a Bears fan now. He's
Yes,
all
I am.
aboard.
All right, well,
He's
people
all
are
aboard.
asking.
I am a Chicago Bears fan.
Nice.
That's for sure.
what's
Yeah.
the fight song? Can you sing the fight song?
No, he hasn't learned it yet. But we
Oh,
gotta-
he hasn't learned it yet. Okay. you
Could we
haven't
give
taught
him that challenge for like 2
You
weeks?
gotta learn the fight. You gotta make
No,
it.
learn
you
the
have
fight
to
song.
take the gummy bear and sing the song. That's the deal.
I don't know. if he
While
can do
riding
that.
the bike and jumping Phil. Like, let's
Angelo
just bring it all
Knievel.
together. And make this
Angelo, have you tried to do a wheelie on your mini bike yet?
You know what? The sucker got a lot of power. I'm pretty sure I can. I just never did
Yeah?
it before.
All right, we gotta get it on video.
Yeah.
Yes. He's gonna ask Claudio to drive the mini bike. He wants to have Claudio try it out. Can we get that on film?
Yes,
can't.
I
It's
will
too
bring it to
dangerous
the
for me.
barber shop, and Claudia's gonna have to go on it.
I can't.
I'll have
Just
Conrad
around
race
the
you on the
parking lot.
squad.
These are my bread and butter. I cannot hurt these.
Yeah,
You
okay.
know how, what's his name?
Those are
Seinfeld
Angelo's
does the
bread and butter, too.
conversations with.
Yeah.
Angelo had his birthday.
Oh boy! Angelo? This is my favorite one, Angelo. Just so you know.
The best.
So Raphael is your favorite. Raphael is your favorite, then, Angelo, huh?
Yeah, Raphael is my favorite. Yes.
All right.
Where's your show?
Angelo. What are those knives called? Those
They're not knives. They're called size. Size.
Size?
Size.
Yeah. So I guess I think
I
in
don't have it
Japan.
in Wallingford.
No. In Japan, I think karate was started by farmers, and what they used was farming tools. You know.
So what is your
themselves from the enemy?
Angelo, when you come walking back into the house, what does your family say when you're just randomly carrying two size back into your bedroom?
Well, they don't know. They don't know what I'm doing in my room. I don't want nobody to know what I'm doing in my room.
I want that as a clip. If
Yes.
Alex,
I don't want anybody.
We got it. We got it, Cars.
All right, we got a question here from the Factor, Angelo.
Okay.
All right.
What talents do you think you have, and can you show them live right now? So, what's a talent you have that you can show live right
Bullets
now?
really wants to know.
he's very invested in this.
Yeah.
Like a stupid human trick. You know, stupid human tricks. You got any of those?
Not really. No. The only talents I have, I can do some acting ability. That's about it. That's all I can do right now.
Can you do a scene from a movie? You're a big movie buff.
Yeah, I can do a scene. Yeah.
Impersonation or okay.
He's gonna do a scene. What movie? What movie?
All right. Okay. The first movie that popped in my head was the movie Heat with Al Pacino.
Okay.
And Robert De Niro.
Great.
Now, I'm gonna do the scene when they're in the diner.
Yes.
And Al Pacino is talking to Robert De Niro.
Don't screw this up.
About,
Can you adjust your camera and do
Yeah, I can see your brain.
Because
I
we
think,
see your
I think you need to wipe your lens on your phone.
yeah, you're hazy.
You're
like
smoking
Claudio.
too many cigarettes.
no, you know what it is? I think it's a little hot here in the barn, so that's the humidity, I think, guys.
You
I
tell.
don't give a fuck that he smokes weed. They all smoke weed.
Smoke weed every day.
We know that's what you were doing, Angelo.
Angelo,
Smoking
what?
hot Angelina
EJ
Jolie
wants to know
behind
what is Angelo's dream job?
Oh, that's a good question by Peter.
My dream in life was always to become an actor. I always wanted to become an
Here's your
actor.
chance, right?
Let's see it. Here we go. Let's see it. Ready? Here we go.
So
Bring
you
it.
ready for the
Action.
scene? I gotta study the lines, but I'm gonna try to come out the best I can what I remember.
Okay.
Okay, here's the scene.
What's the scene?
The part where
What's the
Set
scene?
it. Yeah, you gotta set it.
Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, they're at the diner in a scene in the movie Heat,
Yes.
and they're talking about each other, one each other, you know.
Yeah.
And then
What?
well, Al Pacino, he says to Robert De Niro,
You were waiting
Cars.
for that
Cars.
moment. You were waiting.
Why would you do that to him, Cars?
Yeah.
Why, Cars?
Like
that was
I
Cars
can
that
really
did that.
talk.
wait a minute, I want to answer this
How am I
question.
gonna have that point?
My all-time favorite movie is
Appropriate
number
movie.
one, The Godfather. All Godfathers. Godfather 1, Godfather 2, and Godfather 3. All in order. I like them all.
Godfather
We don't
3,
acknowledge 3 in my house.
Yeah, I was gonna say
No,
that's
three
not
is,
even.
totally
Three,
agree.
huh?
No.
No.
Never happened.
me
Let me see the scene real quick. So,
All right, let me
Niro
do.
and
Okay, so
Pacino.
Al Pacino says to Robert De Niro, "Well, what are you, a monk?" And then Robert De Niro says, "Well, listen, I was once told. Listen, I don't know how to say the lines correct, but I'm gonna come with the best ability as I could.
Keep it 100 and let's go.
If I see heat coming around the corner, I got to be out of there 60 seconds flat or something. I know. I got to study the scenes. You know, guys.
Angelo,
I'm a little out of it.
Isn't that gone in 60 seconds?
You could make $1,000 a week with acting chops like that.
Keep it at $1,000. Keep it at
$1,000 a month.
$1,000 a month for that.
Oh boy. Let's see any other questions in here.
Well, the family feels whole again.
All right. There we go. He's back. He's going to be doing
look
some
at that.
promo videos.
Angelo. Look. Angela.
Oh, thank you, Angelo. Listen.
No, you're not allowed
I
to
wasn't
talk
ready
to
for this, but next time I'll do better.
There you go.
You did great.
Prepared.
Yeah.
Can you do the truffle shuffle like Chunk?
From Goonies.
Yeah, I'll try it. Let me try it.
Isolate on him. Isolate on him.
Hold on. Wait, hold on one second.
Isolate on him. Hold
You
on.
got it. You got it.
No, don't start yet. Don't start yet.
There, we got to get you out of breath.
There we
You
go.
need to back up a little bit. You can't be so close.
You got to see the
We gotta see
truffle
the
shuffle.
yeah.
Hide the
We
body.
gotta see the truffle while
We
Oh,
can't
boy.
see
no,
him.
bring it down. Bring the
you
camera
go.
down.
There he is.
All right.
Look, he's bearing down.
Wait, can you do it while you're holding cars? Can you do it while you're holding cars?
Oh dear God!
Oh, weird.
While he's holding cards. This guy's up to every challenge.
Here's our ad, cars.
There it is. There it is.
Oh,
What did you have
right.
to tape cars up? What is that tape around them?
He had to.
And why is it around my mouth? That's
Yeah,
really
what happened?
concerning.
It's a glory situation.
There's only one port
Hey,
open on that thing.
Angelo.
That's where the gummy bear goes.
Oh, where'd he go? Oh,
There he
Angelo. Angelo, can you hear me? Okay. Have
Yeah.
you unblocked your father on Facebook?
No, I haven't. I haven't. No, because he told me to be very professional and don't be a clown on the show. Now
You're
I like to
doing
have a
great.
little bit of fun. So he's very old fashioned, you know.
That's okay. It's all right.
Yeah.
You're doing a
What?
great job, bro. Great
You're
job.
doing amazing.
You also give us a lot of drops and a lot of stuff. I'm so glad that you're back. We're gonna do the gummy
dad-
bear challenge.
Is your dad
Steven
watching
Johnson?
tonight?
Yeah.
No, he fell asleep. He fell asleep.
Yes, that's what
You gonna show him
Angelo
tomorrow?
waits till he falls asleep. That's it. He went silent there.
Awkward
He
silence.
just went awkward silent.
No, just as your I didn't hear what you said. What was it you
I
said?
said you wait till he goes to sleep, then you come on the show. That's your
No,
plan.
no. I'm in the
You
barn.
sneak
I'm
out?
about
Oh, you're in the barn.
I'm about a mile away from him. He can't see what I'm doing, you know?
Oh,
Do you drive to the barn or do you walk?
The
I
moped?
drive.
You
The
drive.
moped, your little fun bike?
No, at nighttime I like to take my Ford Ranger.
Oh man, you should rip that mini bike at night. Put a flashlight on the front of that thing.
I already have him, Chris. I already have him.
All right, nice.
Pure
LED
bliss.
bad boys, like the.
So
Super
Angelo,
bright
once we sign off here, what's on Angelo's agenda for after the show? What are you gonna do?
Well, you know what it is? I can't fall asleep right away, so I'll pop in a nice movie.
What are you
Because I don't
going
have
with?
HBO Max. I don't have all the expensive channels. So I have to put my own movie to that I like, you
You
know?
don't have Netflix or anything?
No, we're very economical, my family.
Yeah.
There's a drop right there.
Trust me, all Italians know if it's extra, we don't want it.
Yeah. The mini bike's okay though.
If it's extra, just
The mini
ask
bike,
for it.
I got away with it. I have to have a little
3
fun,
packs
you know?
of cigarettes a day and all that other shit.
We're very
I love you,
economical
Angelo.
in mine. Could someone hook Angelo up with the HBO Max password? Or we got
I might got a
people out
customer
there.
for
We
that.
got to get
I'm
you.
afraid we'll end up on a list if I
I
share
wonder
it
why
with
he's
you,
always
Eric.
at the he's always at the movies. He tried to squeeze us.
Are
Shane.
we-
He tried to squeeze
Yep,
us.
he
Now
did.
he's
Here's-
back.
Angelo, that's what. So you have to. Part of the process of coming back is you have to admit what
did it.
happened, and there was one specific quote that you shared with Phil and I when this was all
Okay,
going
there
down.
we go. This
You
is
remember
the
what it
challenge.
was?
This is it.
Do you remember what it
Well,
was?
that I was Michael Jackson and you guys were the Jackson 5?
Yeah, explain
There
that
you
one.
go. There you go.
Explain that one.
Okay, so I have the ability of making people laugh, and I like to have fun.
Yeah.
And I think I bring a lot of energy when it comes to comedy, So I pictured myself as Michael Jackson, little Michael.
You need to leave the Jackson 5. Yeah.
You don't want.
Is Shane gonna explain this?
So we were on
Yeah,
the
it's good.
phone. We were on the phone, and Angelo decided that he was gonna. Phil went offline. If you've ever talked to Phil on the phone, Jackal, Claudio, I know you've experienced that. I'm not sure if Cars has. Ryan Cox experienced it the other day.
Yeah.
When you're on the phone with Phil,
Keep it in-
you're also on the phone with 87 other people that Phil is talking to. So a lot of the time you'll be like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh no, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Phyllis is making copies or whatever the fuck."
I have
So anyways,
a lot of people I have to deal with.
Phil was doing something, so Angelo was on the phone with me. He's like, "Now Shane, I gotta be honest here. Phil's not on the phone, but I'm gonna ask you and let me know what you think." Everybody's got to know their value. And listen, Shane, now the Jackson 5, at some point, Michael had to leave because he knew his worth. So I said, "Well, Angelo, who's Michael Jackson in this scenario?" "Well, Shane, it's me. I mean, how many subscriptions am I responsible for?" And at this point, Phil comes back on the phone, and this was one of the funniest parts, because I told Phil, I'm like, "Well, Angelo wants some money from us every month for his 3 to 6 minute appearance." So Angelo's, "Well, I've been talking to some people, and I think I'm bringing a lot of value. And how many subscriptions have I brought you guys?" Phil's like, "I'll fucking tell you. It's fucking 0.
Yeah, I do.
Put in 100.
But
Yeah.
So, anyways, we asked Angelo, like you said, you want to keep it 100. You said, "All right, man, we're going to talk money, and what is this going to cost us?" And Angelo's
Got that right, Tony.
response was, "Well, guys, if I could just get $1,000 a month, my Italian family could get Netflix. We're very
If I was to break it down, it would have been $250 a week. That's all.
Which is not a lot.
That's not a lot. That's like a little part-time job,
I mean, Michael Jackson is worth $250 a week. That's way
no doubt.
Well, in my circumstances, I had to lower to what I was capable of getting. What I thought it was I could get.
All right,
But that went out of the window.
Real quick, Angelo. So you lowered it to what you could get. What are you getting financially from us right now?
I'm getting 0.
Okay, so that's your hell of a
back, ladies.
Yeah.
I don't want the money no more.
All right.
If it ever happens, I'd be happy. But I miss the love, the fun, and the energy of the show.
Yeah,
and I'm a little rusty right now because I haven't been on the show for maybe 2 months. So I got to get back into it,
Well, Angelo, if you're Michael Jackson, let's see some Michael Jackson moves. Let's see you dance like Michael Jackson. Real quick.
Can you moonwalk?
Can you do a spin and grab your crotch or something like that?
I don't want that anywhere near my cutout. I want to be abundantly clear.
The 100 crew wants to see your best Michael Jackson dance.
I'm a little bit in trouble because my gimbal just died. So I'm going to try to do the best. Let me see.
What is that?
Let me see if I put my phone here.
Gimbal is this.
I wish we can't play Michael Jackson music. We'll get
It's right here. I got. It's
That's
one
a
of.
gimbal.
You can carry it around with your phone, and if you're
It'll follow
doing jumping jacks, it stabilizes it.
So we had Angelo get it because he's going to go on the street asking people questions and stuff.
Gotcha.
So we wanted to have the gimbal so he could do stuff like this.
Oh,
but
this is awesome.
he's got his TV on.
Here we go.
I don't want to
Angelo, what?
I like your
what-
T-shirt.
is
I think
that on
that's
TV?
awesome.
Cheers is on.
Angelo, is that on DVD back
No,
there?
it's not.
No,
Cheers is
that's
not on.
antenna.
There's nothing
That's
on.
a TV antenna.
That's economical. That's smart.
Yeah, very economical. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of money, I think we can make one of those escape rooms out of your barn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or whatever,
Angelo's
whatever you're
escape room
trafficking out of there.
for
Well, yeah, don't have the
100 crew.
light. No.
Live from Wallingford.
There you go. Right there. Right there. That's good. Step back. Can you?
No,
step
no.
back?
But
I
don't have the light.
no way of
What do
putting
you
it.
have the light behind
Frasier
you?
on DVD in the background.
No, it's over the air, he said. It's over the air.
Oh, it's over the air. I didn't hear that. My bad.
There you go.
That is
Perfect.
intense.
Pay attention, Phil.
All right,
I don't want to
Guess
get
who's
hit
getting
with
suspended off of
Do a
YouTube?
Michael Jackson beat, Phil. Come on, beatbox it or something.
Oh, I could do a Michael Jackson beatbox. You ready, Angelo?
Ready?
Yeah.
Hold on. I need to wet my palate. Your basement, man. It's scary.
That's wet.
Now this is a production, right, Shane? This is how
Yeah,
you produce,
absolutely.
right?
This is a quality
First, let's
production.
do a
right
test.
Quality.
You
production.
pull this off, Angelo, you got $3 coming your way, big guy.
How do we go from talking to Dr. Goldman to this? Like, how?
I can't do it.
You guys can't see my feet though. I don't have no way to put the phone, guys.
Well, put it down. Put it, point it down a little bit more,
Can
and
you
then back
sing
up
it?
farther.
Can you sing it?
And then back up further.
For 40 days and
Wait.
for 40 nights.
Wait a minute.
All right. You did it all. You've
All
done
right,
it all.
We tried. We
We
tried. All right.
tried. We'll
got
set
a
it
wrap.
up with the gimbal. We've been on the air. You're back.
Thank you, Angelo.
Angelo, go sit back at the other spot.
Let's.
The fact that Angelo admitted his mistake, he
Wait,
came
he's-
back.
Let's just wrap it here. Wrap it here. Angelo.
Go ahead, Angelo.
Can you hear me?
We need your
Yeah.
PA.
We need you to answer two very important questions.
Hold on. He's frozen. He's got to get back to that other area.
Before we end the show, we're going to end the show with you tonight.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me? You're going to answer me two very important questions.
Two.
Okay? What is the name of the show you're on right now?
I'm on the TTNL show. The tape never lies. That's what we're
There
at.
it is.
No,
Never
you're
Lies
wrong.
show?
You're wrong.
You're
It's
still
not-
wrong.
That's not the name of the show. What's the name of the show?
I thought it was
every hype-
TTNL.
In every hype
That's
video
the
you've ever
network.
done, you've never said the name of the show right. So this is
All
what
right.
we're gonna fix.
Keeping it 100.
No.
There you go.
There it is.
Keeping it 100. Good.
Oh,
On the
he's been
Tape
studying
Never
it.
Lies Network. Right?
On the tape
All right.
never lies
Give
network.
him the station ID to do, Shane. See if he
Oh,
can do
boy.
it. How many takes do you think
Yeah.
he'll do it in?
One.
47.
One take.
All right, Angelo, can you do a station ID for us?
What is that, Shane?
No, you're gonna listen to what I say and then you're gonna repeat it, okay?
We need you
All right.
stabilized. Just
All right.
stay right there.
You're gonna say, "Hey, coach. This
Hey,
is
coach.
Angelo Joe Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut, and you are keeping it 100 on the TTNL show with Shane, Phil, Jackal, Cars, and Claudio. And fuck you, Alex Acevedo."
You have to say all of
This
that.
is impressive if he gets this on one take.
Do you
All
think
right.
you could do this all in
One more
take?
time, Shane. Can you say one more time?
Yeah.
Well, we're-
Hey, coach. It's Angelo Joe Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut. You're watching Keeping It 100 on the Tape Never Lies Network with Phil, Shane, Claudio, Cars, Jackal, and fuck you, Alex Acevedo.
Okay,
You
ready?
to do it? I'm gonna isolate
Yeah.
on you. I'm gonna count you
I
down.
got faith in you,
Wait,
Angelo.
do it with your hat
All
off. Take your hat off. Do it with your hat off. Yep. Even better.
He does.
Take
whatever
your
you
shirt
say.
off, too.
No.
Family show, gents. The family
Family,
show.
it's economical.
Yeah. Okay, you ready?
Three.
You guys ready?
3, 2, 1.
Hey, Coach. This is Angelo Joe Marino from Wallingford, Connecticut, and you're watching Keepin It 100 on the Tape Never Lies Network with Draft Dr. Phil, Shane, Chris Jackal, Claudio the Barber, and I love you, Alex Acevedo. I'm sorry, I can't say the bad word.
You forgot
I can't.
somebody. You forgot
No, he
someone.
didn't. He
Who
was
did
fine.
you forget? Somebody that's in your
In
burn.
cars, and do it in cars. In cars.
It's okay. It's okay. I know. I
You did a
know. I will live on like Celine Dion in your life. It's fine.
All right. Listen, guys.
Fuck.
You guys ever seen the movie Aladdin?
Of course.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you what just happened today on May 26th,
You rubbed the lamp.
2021. We just rubbed the lamp. And I'm the genie from Aladdin. You just rubbed the lamp, and I'm getting all my energy again. And I'm gonna deliver.
Yes.
Not
Are you
one,
sure that
not
Angelo?
two, not 3 wishes, but your wish is on my command. I will
Angelo,
do it.
We
You
each
said,
get
you said you don't have a
Went
girlfriend. Are you sure that was a lamp you've been rubbing?
I rub my lamp very well at night. Don't worry about it.
Ruined the show.
That's
You're
Good night,
suspended
everybody.
again.
You're
definitely
suspended again now. You're
You're
suspended
suspended again.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
All right. Real quick. Are we doing shout out, Shane,
No.
or no?
No,
We're gonna end
no
this
shout
right-
out.
right
You're
now.
welcome,
We're
Alex.
good.
Before we
Well,
end
no,
the
I gotta
show,
do one. I gotta
let
do
me
the
say
shout out.
this right here. Fight like Spencer.
Yes, sir.
You see me rocking this in our swag. A lot of you guys have been supporting the swag shop. Alex Acevedo has been doing a great job keeping up the swag. We got new swag in there. We're working on getting the white hoodie because apparently the new store doesn't have white, but Alex is working on it tirelessly. He's doing a great job there.
Alex,
We are working on a Cars shirt. Like I said on the other show, where he's got his hands up, saying the Bears have traded up. TTNL. We got the Cars shirt. We got the Smartest Man shirt. It's been in the works since 2016, when a old gray bald guy promised we'd have it, but it's never come. So Tooch is working on it. We got a Smartest Man t-shirt going. We also have an Angelo Pure Bliss t-shirt.
Pure bliss, everybody.
On the back, it says economical family, some shit. Gotta be a part of that quote.
That'll be a top seller, that one. I guarantee.
Pure Bliss on the front with Angelo. We also got to smoke weed every day. Claudio.
Maybe, Jim. We'll do that.
Smoke weed every day. Claudio t-shirt.
Big plays are nice. They're good. We need more of those.
Obviously, right now in the swag shop, SpencerStrong, Fight Like Spencer on the back. I think TTNL, you get it. TTNL on the back, and you're representing us, and you're helping childhood cancer, brain cancer in children. That is why we do this segment and shouting out. I really appreciate all of the support that you guys show. Obviously, the old TTNL stuff. Chris Jackal is working on some dope hats that are going to be coming out pretty soon. Dope hats that are coming out into our network. So, and you have Give Me a Tackle or Give Me Death t-shirt that's already up there. That's in the swag shop. So go over there, support the network. All the money is going back into the show. All the money is going back.
Jim Larson had a request, Phil, if we can
Does
get.
he?
Yes, an Angelo Wonderlick test, and strangely enough, we already have the results.
Hold on.
0.0.
Gotarski.
Anyway, it was a great show. I want to just thank everybody on the show. Yeah, tonight, Angelo, thank you for coming back. Jackal producing.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me back. I won't let anybody down.
Give a shout out to Bullets, Angelo.
Shout out to Bullets.
There we
you
go.
You got Bullets back on your side. Claudio moderating, cars jumping in. What a great interview with
Claudio. You wanted to say something, though, right, for the shout out?
Yeah, because me and Phil both saw the barber, the Bears barber, Funk, came out all the way from Chicago. Let me get the picture up here.
Oh,
it was so awesome. So
it's there, yeah.
There it is. Yep.
I thought it was
there he is with me and our guy Rob. We went on a pick, bought some awesome barbershop collectibles.
Yeah.
And it was just such a great time. So shout out to obviously Funk for coming out and doing it and hanging out.
Cut his hair?
Rob, what's up?
Did you cut his hair?
No. We spent all day with Rob. It was fun. And then at night we hooked up with Phil, went out for some pizza.
Nice.
In New Haven. We didn't go to Modern.
Modern was closed for the record.
Modern was closed.
Modern Pizza was closed on a Monday.
Yeah.
So we couldn't go out there. So we didn't get to experience the full New Haven pie, the style of New Haven, but we did take him here. There we are.
There he is. Yep.
We took him to Zanelli's. There we are talking
pizza
a lot of stories that we got to talk about.
You guys are hungry.
A lot of good stuff. We are gonna get Funk's gonna get us some good interviews.
Well, he's cutting Pace's hair tomorrow.
Well, tell the story, Cole.
Yeah, well, I've said it before, but yeah, we're on
it's
behalf
official now. This is officially
on
going
behalf
down.
Of TTNL, tomorrow he will be cutting Ryan Pace's hair, and we will be paying for it as a thank you for a great draft and cutting Leno and all these moves that he's done. For real, this is really happening. So this is it. So hopefully he'll thank us. We'll see. Maybe he'll make a little video or something.
Maybe Ryan Pace will come on the show.
We will see.
I did say this. I think I could say this, Claudio. Right? In our conversation.
What was that, Angelo?
No, I just coughed.
Oh.
In our conversation with Funk, I did say, listen, Funk said, you guys are hard on Nagy and Pace. I go, that's what we are. I mean, we keep it 100 here. He's like, no, they respect that. They do. They respect you guys and what you're saying and kind of letting us know they're listening. But I said to him, all you need to do is tell Ryan Pace, now's the time to take a victory lap. Now's the time to open up your personality to a fan base that wants to know you, like Angelo's coffee. Holy shit. We're going to mute Angelo.
Smoke another cigarette.
We're going to get him. Hopefully, that would be the best interview ever if we can get Ryan Pace Keeping It 100.
That'd be great.
So, we're not saying it's going to happen, but it's out there. So
the Penguin will love it.
Put some good energy out there. And real quick, because we're not doing shout-outs tonight, I really want, speaking of good energy, I really want my 100 crew to give their thoughts and prayers to one of our guys, one of the 100 crew, Alberto Valdez. He's been struggling with that kidney. He needs a kidney. He's in dialysis every other day now. So it's really getting him, his family nervous. So say some prayers. Put some positive energy to Alberto Valdez. This guy actually supports this network so well, sharing our stuff. He runs the Chicago Bears Fan Forever Facebook page group, and he's always sharing our stuff, and just a great human being, a great father. And I only could imagine what he's going through. So please take some time out. That was going to be my shout out to him. Thank Matt Waldman and Dr. Goldman tonight. Really, honestly,
great show.
Talk about a great show. It was a great show. If you didn't get to see, if you didn't get to see the first interview, you really got to go back and check it out. We'll be back next week. We have no one on the docket except Angelo. Angelo's got a challenge this week. Hopefully he steps up. Okay?
I will.
Okay. Shane, you
I
have
want to
any
do one
final
shout
things?
out real quick, if
Go
we
ahead.
could, because You know,
Yes,
it is
go ahead.
Memorial Day this weekend,
Yes,
right?
that's good talk.
And Edwin Lopez reached out, obviously talking about some folks that he's lost.
Yep.
So
Oh my
it's
God,
extremely
that's my
important
boy
to
right there.
all of us, right? Like, there's a reason that we're all allowed to be this ridiculous and have the fun that we do, right? There's a lot of people that have to make greater sacrifices than all of us. So really, shout out to everyone that does that so selflessly.
Yes.
And fights for our freedom. So thank you very much.
Well said.
Well said,
Well
Carson.
said, guys. Shane put the kibosh on the shout outs. But I'll show you 100 crew. You guys are the best. I shout you all out. I shout you out every time you share the show. Let other people know. Like, smash the like button. Subscribe. We're almost at 10,000. At 10,000, we're going to do a special giveaway.
Yeah, we're gonna buy Jackal a new smoke alarm or whoever's fire alarm that is chirping.
We're gonna get Angelo some Nicorette.
Gotta be Angelo.
Angelo, is that your
some Nicorette or Chantix? Which one do you want to try?
Angelo, is that your fire alarm chirping?
I don't think so. I don't even have a fire alarm here.
That's your dad's camera letting you know he's recording, I think.
No.
Yeah. Well, it was another great show here at TTNL. We love everybody out there. I got a special request from PJ. He wants to hear this as we go out. We love everybody. We just don't love the blog boys. So we'll ride out with that. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. This weekend we'll be live on the patron side, breaking down more undrafteds and some draft picks. All of that you'll be seeing in your patron. Become a patron subscriber, www.thetapeneverlies.com for more in-depth analysis on the Chicago Bears. Get your swag. Have a great weekend. Thank you, everybody who has fought for this country and for your service. God bless you, and fuck a blog boy.
Real quick.
David Montgomery, because a lot of these blog boys, these fucking stat trolls, you'll see the fucking blog boys talking about this.
Blog boys and haters, trolls on Twitter, fraud manipulators. Oh yeah, blog boys and haters, trolls on Twitter, snap manipulators. Oh yeah. Take it to the level that most never thought of. This crazy world, people treat a keyboard like a sword off. Narrative crusher, so many demons that I'm fought off. Tape never lies, blog boys get fucking caught. PFS with the fishes, but they still gonna troll. Putting warrants on top, make them look like an asshole. Nagy calling plays, but no clue on personnel. Running toss the CP, short side behind Leno. These dudes on that block like J-Lo. Montgomery is elite, cause DDP says so. Front office nightmare like the haunted of Hill House. Block boys get to step in and take your boy Millhouse. Block boys and haters, trolls on Twitter, fraud manipulators. Oh yeah, block boys and haters, trolls on Twitter, snap manipulators. Oh yeah.
Word. Blog boys changing stats like report cards. No PFF, straight F-Soul and no scorecard. You gotta have heart to play. A little soul like Marvin Gaye. Goes a long way, throw the strong fade at an out route. Power, I see the end zone. I hope Maggie takes a smart route. It gives a play calls like McCaskey money. Blog boys and haters talking, but they stats is funny. The tape never lies. Think it's when you get smacked with honey and get swept like the tight end on 4th and 1 tries. We big time, you small fries. Twitter fingers typing for the clout. They never train, they all cry.
Blog boys and haters, trolls on Twitter, fraud manipulators. Oh yeah, blog boys and haters, trolls on Twitter, snap manipulators. Oh yeah, blog boys and haters, trolls on Twitter, snap manipulators. Oh yeah.
blog boys get fucking caught off. TTNL. Always speaking the truth. The tape never lies.